What's up, guys? We are live. We got Evan from Performance Potential joining us. And this is someone who I've been excited to get on for a while because he really, I would say, is like the equivalent of me on TikTok. Like you just give straightforward, no bullshit advice. The only difference is that we're on different platforms largely. So yeah, man, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, man, really excited to be here.
Yeah, likewise to talk to you. So for anyone who's not familiar with you, do you want to just give a quick 30-second introduction?
Yeah, for sure, man. So I primarily started on TikTok, and it's where I've been putting most of my content. I think I started in the middle of December. Me personally, I'm located in Austin. So for me, most of my
Oh, cool. I
clients
lived
come
there
to me.
for a year.
Really? Did you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, man, it's a fun spot. Definitely growing a lot. There's so many people moving to Austin, as you
Yeah.
have you probably heard. So
Yeah.
kind of getting crazy down here, but super fun place to be. So for me personally, I work with a lot of individual coaching clients that come to me from TikTok. And yeah, I think my story and why I became a coach is similar to a lot of guys. I think I have a similar story to that, but really just super interested in the dynamic between men and women. I love to do research on it, and I love to talk about it too.
Yeah, man, no, I really like your content because it's very straightforward. And I think it'd be interesting if you got on YouTube because then you'll have more than like 60 seconds to explain your thoughts. So
Yeah.
I'm on TikTok. I don't think even like half the guys know that, but I have a really hard time getting complex ideas out in 60 seconds. I'm like, how do I explain fucking, you know, like inner game problems or like the complexities of texting and like in 60 seconds? But I think
And
we
the
go like
other thing is too, the ones that perform the best are the ones that are under 30
30
seconds.
seconds. Yeah.
So you have to be really concise. And then I'm sure you've run into this as well. If somebody's going to take video down, YouTube compared to TikTok, YouTube is going to be a lot more lenient and loose on what you can post. There's just certain things that are on YouTube that could not be on TikTok because
Oh,
TikTok is very,
100%.
very
Yeah.
regulated.
100%. I've had so many, and dude, what they do is like when a video gets reported, they take it down. It's not even like someone reports your video, they look at it, it's just the video goes down, then you have to appeal it. So it's like you start off as a loss. I've had so many of my videos. I pretty much win every appeal. I won like 95% of my appeals, but it sucks because the video is down for like a week.
Yep. And then afterwards, you can tell that the growth is a little bit slower. I mean, I had one
Yes.
that went really
Yeah.
viral and it was about kind of preferences and body shaming. And it got to like 6 million views. And when it got to 6 million views, within an hour and a half, it was creeping up like 400, 500,000 within an hour and a half. We're going
Mm.
super viral. And then a bunch of people reported it. And then I appealed it and it went back up. But it was one of those things is afterwards, it really did not go as viral as it did the first few days, just because the algorithm is a little bit weird and
It's
TikTok is
weird.
newer. So they're really
Yeah.
trying to hone in on what's the best way to run the app.
Yeah, dude, it is weird. Like when we initially started TikTok, put out some videos, and then I don't know, after a few weeks, we started going really viral. We just every video 500,000 views, 800,000 views. The videos were going really viral, and we were getting like, dude, like 1,000 followers a day, or something like that. Sometimes 2,000, like really rapid growth. And then a few videos got reported, and then it went from 2,000 a day to like 100 a day.
Yep,
Even though I'm still putting out the same amount of content, it's the same content.
absolutely.
So it's crazy. But okay, so let's jump into. I feel like this is a topic we talked about for a while. So you said that your story is similar to most guys. So I'm assuming you struggled with girls when you were growing up. Then you started doing a lot of research, a lot of trial and error, and then eventually you figured it out. Is that somewhat on the ball?
It's pretty accurate. So for me, I wouldn't say that I never had that moment where I was like, I cannot get a girl, I cannot speak to women. I've always been pretty well spoken, always able to communicate with women. But for me, I was always a relationship guy when I was
Oh,
younger. So I would get in these situations where I was treating these girls that I was dating like my girlfriend, like the first couple weeks that I met them, because I was always in long-term relationships.
oh,
I would kind of bounce from relationship to relationship. So when I finally became single after college, and in college I was in a long-term relationship, I kind of went back into the dating pool and I'm like, I'm doing everything right. This makes no sense. Like I'm doing
oh.
everything that women say that we should be doing. I'm being super nice. Like I'm texting her first. I'm in her DMs. I'm Snapchatting her. I'm texting her. Like I'm being a nice guy.
I'm
Like
sending
I'm
her the usual 3 dick pics a day.
yeah, exactly. I was ripping
Maybe
off.
I need to go to 4 dick pics. I don't know what's going on
I'm like,
here.
why'd she ghost me? But no, like I was super consistent in my communication. And fast forward a little bit, we kind of get into game and get into men and women, how we work. It's like now you realize that less is more, less is way more. So for me, I went from always being in relationships to being single, and then that first, I will say, 10 to 12 months of being single is really where I started to learn and understand and educate myself on what was going on, because I'm somebody, if I get my ass kicked 2 times minimum, I'm going to figure it out. Like, I'm not going to sit here and suck at something for 3 years. I want to be good at everything. So I'm going to try to figure it out as quickly as possible. And yeah, I think for me, it was like, we all had that one girl that pulled back, or those 2 girls that pulled back, and we're like, why did this happen? So for me, that's really what got me to look into this and start to understand and study and rationalize what was going on. So really only after, like, I will say, not even a year of like intensely paying attention, I feel like I really became a master just understanding what not to do to fuck up with women. You know what I mean? It was a pretty quick turnaround. Like, for the guys watching, it does not take that long to get a lot better at this. It really does not, if you pay attention.
So you were pretty much a fast learner.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I paid attention. But the other thing is too, it was never that I was really bad at communicating with women. I communicated way too much, and I said things that I shouldn't have said.
So you were okay. So that's interesting. You're kind of the opposite of me in that sense. I was a very slow learner. I learned about game I started doing game when I was 18. I didn't know game was a thing. I thought I was the only one that had this issue, maybe like a few other losers. When I was 21, I actually learned about the concept of game, but I didn't really become like proficient at it until like 23, 24. There was like so much trial and error. And like, even like by the age of 21, 22, I had all the theory, right? I knew all the things that I should do, well, most of them, right? And I don't know, I still kept fucking up. So there's like so much like learning for me. But it sounds like with you, you were a little bit more like a natural in a sense. You just didn't have the game aspect. So once you understood all the theory, it became easy to apply because you had good inner beliefs. Would that be correct?
That's pretty accurate. So my question for you personally is, you said you started to get better at it, but then you kept fucking it up. Like, what did you keep messing up?
So there's different things. So for example, like, I logically understood the concept of not being needy, right? But logically understanding something, and then one night I'm out drinking and I send a bunch of needy texts. That's probably more. That wasn't really ever really my huge issue. But I understand logically the concept of approach anxiety, how it's natural, how it's not a big deal. But when I was like 21, I'll approach a girl, I'll still freeze up. And then I'll start, another really, this is actually a big one. A big trap I would fall into is being the entertainer, being the dancing monkey. And again, I understood that, you don't want to be a dancing monkey. My humor was always like my fallback. It wasn't until one of my really good friends who was a natural said, he was like, basically sat me down. I was like, Alex, you're funny, but you do realize that you use your humor as a crutch. And he explained to me why I use my humor as a crutch, that I'm afraid, I'm not confident, whatever, I'm unsecure. And when I start understanding that, and I start consciously not using humor as a crutch, that's when I saw like a big improvement. So there's just a bunch of things like that.
Yeah, and all of that stems from, well, there's three main fears we have as humans, but it stems from 2 main fears: not being accepted and not being enough. Right? Like, when we come from this position of lack, or like scarcity mindset that a lot of guys say, when you come from that position and you don't think you're enough, you feel like you have to become to get what you want. So when you go into things with that mindset, even if you try to convince yourself that that's not the case, you still subconsciously think that. So that's why the drunk texting happens. So you could be on your game for all this time, then you slip, right? Like, you drink, you slip, you get a little bit weird, you get a little bit needy, because psychologically we're not completely healed. And a lot of those things stem from our childhood, where we're kind of looking for that validation from women, not necessarily because we didn't get it as children, but because we as guys want to get women to almost flex on other men and to prove our worth, because it shows that we're accepted. It shows that we're desired by women. So when you have the ability to get multiple women, guys who can do that are really kind of revered. And it's not like we wouldn't call another guy a player as like a bad thing. Like, we would be like, yeah, he's really good with women. And women would shame us for that. Like, he's a player, he's a jerk, he's an asshole. Whereas guys would say, he's really good with women. Like, he knows what he's doing. He knows his stuff. But a lot of that stems, like, having to prove yourself to other guys stems from insecurity. It's just like you said, like, it stems from the insecurity of having to prove to other people that you're good enough by what you can get, not necessarily by the person that you are.
Oh, you're 100% on the money with that. And if I logically look at my my past, it's like pretty clear how I developed this. Like, when I was a kid, we moved around a lot. So when I was 7, we moved to a new country from Russia. I didn't speak the language. I was the outsider. Then as I started developing some friends and learning the language, we moved to a different school. I'm an outsider. Then as I started developing friends again, we moved to a different school. So it was just like, I always felt like the outsider. And I think a lot of that carried over into my teens and early 20s. And that's why, like, whenever, for example, I approach a group of girls, even if they were like totally cool with me, they were like, hey, yeah, this cool guy, I still felt like the outsider, right? So it took a lot of work to get over that. But to kind of jump into what you mentioned earlier, you said you were always into relationships. I think that's interesting. That's like a nice counterbalance to me because I was always into hookups. What, like, was that just like a natural thing, or is that like you? That's just like a preference, relationships.
It was conditioned into me at an early age because I was raised primarily by my mother. And
Oh,
women are very relationship oriented, monogamy oriented, long term
right.
relationship oriented.
That would
So
have been really weird if your mom was like, "Yeah, you gotta get those one night stands, Evan.
yeah, she's like, "Come on, man, get more women. You
Get
suck
your
with
body
women."
count up."
Yeah, she's like, why do you suck with women? So it's one of those things where I kind of watched what happened in my parents' relationship, and I was raised primarily by my mother. So the way that it was is like, be a nice guy, be respectful, and again, all those
Mhm.
things still apply, but with
Yeah.
respect. Being a nice guy, it doesn't do shit for you. Being a guy who's respectful to women, who treats women the right way, but has respect for himself as well, that's when you'll be able to get a girlfriend. That's
Right.
when you'll be able to get a long-term partner. Like you can go out, hook up a lot of girls, but it's a totally different skill to build a relationship, a monogamous relationship, right? So the way that I look at it is I was raised primarily by my mother. I didn't have a brother. I had an older sister. And I think when I was growing up, I was really conditioned, like, not like don't be like your father, but I was raised by women who always, wanted and had long-term relationships. So that's kind of how I was raised when I was younger. It's like you meet a nice girl, within a couple dates, and especially when you're younger, a couple dates, like make her your girlfriend, like commit, be a good guy.
Interesting. But so as you got older, like once you learned game and you started to understand things, you still stuck to that, bro. Like you never went to the other extreme. You're like, fuck this. I know game now. I don't need relationships. That's interesting because you kind of stuck with that like early conditioning.
I think there's a little bit of a curve in my life. And because a lot of guys, so if you're a guy who's looking for a real relationship, having the power, like a real monogamous relationship, having the power to be able to get multiple women but not entertain all those options is playing life on hard mode. But if you find the right woman and you want to get married and have a kid, because that's the big caveat here, like if you want to settle down, have a child, and be in a relationship with one woman, then you need to not exercise that power. And that's a really hard thing for guys to learn. And that's something that I've learned after understanding the game piece. So if I can give you like a kind of order of operations,
Oh,
all up until I was like 22, 23 years old, I was in relationships, couple of years, a couple of years long. Longest relationship was 3.5 years. And then around the time where I was like 23 to 25 and a half, 26 is kind of when I was a player. When I was like, now I realize how to get women. I don't want a real relationship. I'm just going to hook up. And
oh,
that was fun too. Like, I'm not going to say it wasn't fun. Like, being able to talk to multiple women and have success with women is a fun thing. The other thing
of
that
course.
a lot of people don't understand, a lot of women don't like to admit, is that guys who have the ability to get multiple women, as long as they don't lie and they're respectful, usually treat women better than simps, because simps
100%.
shame women and complain and talk shit, and all they do is they want to play, and they want the women to sit in the closet and not see any sun. So the simps are the ones who shame the women and are not having any fun, right? But the guys who actually know how to get women because they can respect women and do what they respond well to. So
Dude,
a
you're
lot of guys don't
100%
really
on the money on
understand.
that. Yeah, that's why women will, for example, she has an option between a simp, exclusive relationship, or being a booty call for a player. Most of the time, she'll pick and it's like objectively, like if she wants kids, it's a worse situation, but she'd rather have that because that guy's going to be way better for her than the simp. So you're right on the
And she
money
would
about
rather
that.
have that right now, which you got to keep in mind. Like, women's emotions, people's emotions
Sure,
fluctuate,
sure,
priorities change. 25, she could want to hook up. 30, she could be baby crazy. Like, you don't know. Everybody's different. All humans are
you're right.
different. And the other thing is, a lot of the guys, a lot of the guys think it's like one or the other. They think that you're either a player or you're a relationship guy. It's like, if you have the ability to get options with multiple women, then you also have more options to find a girlfriend.
Mhm.
So I don't want to say like learning game is the key to it, because like game can be sound like really weird, but like understanding how to interact with women, not lie, be respectful, and be clear about your intent. Like, if you can do that with confidence, women will take it or leave it. It's like a sale, right? So you put an offer on the table, and the person on the other side of the table decides whether they want to sign it and pick it up and work with you. Same with women. If you talk to a woman and she says, "What are you looking for?" and you're like, "I just got a relationship. I really don't want a relationship right now. I want to be straight up with you." You told her the truth. and it's totally her call what she wants to do with that. But if you're some scumbag who says, oh yeah, I want to date long term, like I need a girlfriend, and then you're just playing her and you're talking to three kind of what, like, who are you? Like, you're making the rest of us look bad when you do that. So like when you have confidence and you almost don't care, you'll tell women what you're looking for, and if they're cool with that, they'll be on board. And if not, you say, I totally respect that, and you move on.
Yeah, so our style is very much similar in that. I'm also a big proponent of being straightforward and honest communication within a reason. Like
Sure.
like, yeah, I don't believe in true brutal honesty where like you just say whatever comes to your mind.
Yeah.
Like
You don't
you
want
have
to be like, I'm not attracted to you or something
yeah,
because
like,
you're like,
babe, I jerked off to a hotter girl than you an hour ago, so I don't feel like having sex. Like,
you're
yeah,
not,
like
you're not sharing your links with her.
yeah, there's a small subsect of men in the pickup community who truly believe in like radical honesty, which I don't agree with. But I am also a big proponent of being straightforward, and I think that there's this misconception that women don't want a guy who's a player. Not if he's straight up and straightforward, because it really isn't the fact that the guy's a player. It's more of the fact that she feels deceived. No one likes to
Mhm.
feel deceived. So if the woman feels like she was signing up for this guy, and then she got that guy, that's a problem. But if she knew who that guy was from the start, there's no problem there. She may get tired of that at some point, but it's not going to be, which is why, like, I've been in, I don't know if my followers know this, but I've been in multiple relationships, maybe like 4 total, 4 or 5 that mattered.
Yeah,
And I'm on good terms with all of the girls. Like, I could
absolutely.
text and call all of them. And like, again, we're not hooking up, but I haven't never had a bad breakup. I've never had a really breakup where someone felt hurt or it's ugly. Never once happened. They were all like amicable. Of course, yes, the girl cries. There's emotional things, but it's never been a bad one again because there's no deceit. So I think that's like very important.
Yeah, you're just acting like yourself, and that's what a relationship is. If you have the confidence to act like yourself, not deceive people, be straightforward, they will take you for what you are. But like you said, people don't want to, sign a deal that's not the deal they thought they were getting sold. And that's what I think a lot of men and women do. Like, a lot of women are on their best behavior for a month or so, and then unfortunately, like, the baggage comes out, and we all have baggage, and that's okay. I'm not trying to shame people for that, but it's our job to fix that. Like we talked about the things with our childhood and where we think some of our insecurity might come. Like, go fucking work on it. That's your job. It's not the other person's job to fix you. And that works for men and women.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like, so we said there's 2 categories like of players. The first are the guys who are straight up. The second are the guys who lie about it. I think that we can further break this down for the guys who lie about it. I think there's 2 categories there as well. One category is a sociopath, narcissist, whatever. These are just like quote unquote bad people. They almost like enjoy that, right? But I think they're the minority. I don't think they're majority. I think a sizable bulk of the people who lie do it because they think they have no other choice. They think that if they're straight up with a girl, the girl won't accept them. So they don't want to lie. They don't want to, hide things, but they feel like they have no other choice. Would you agree
Completely
with that?
agree. Completely agree. They're lying because they don't feel like they can get what they want without being somebody other than they are.
Exactly. And I think that, like, again, through our content, if we can reach them and say, hey, there's actually a better way. It's less stressful. You're going to feel better about yourself, and your results will be almost the same. Like, your results don't have to go down, but the girl doesn't get hurt. Because, dude, lying and just like being deceitful and like having a secret, it wears on you as a person. It's really like, I remember when I was like growing up, like I would lie like the average amount. I was never like a serial liar, but I told some lies. And whenever I told the lie, it would just like weigh down on me. I was always like, oh shit, is this person gonna find out? And I had like a good amount of extra stress. And like when I think it was when I read Tucker Max's book, where he talks about the power of honesty. I was like, holy shit, I don't have to lie. And then my results didn't go down. Actually, they got better. I had better relationships, and all that stress has just moved off my shoulders. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. And you're not worried about other people accepting you based on your truth, because like it is who you are. And we all have to get better, right? There's certain things we all have to work on, but it doesn't mean you have to change who you are to try to get the result that you're looking for. And I think that's where a lot of guys who feel like, whether they want to get more women's numbers, that they want to pick up women, that they have to act like some guy that they're not. The problem is, women are very smart. They're very intuitive. They will probably figure it out when you're lying, and they will cut you off, and they won't respect you. But if you're a guy that they ask and you say straight up, I've been in a lot of long-term relationships. Like right now, I'm not looking for that. Like, I hope that's okay with you. If not, no big deal. She's going to say, okay, like I want a boyfriend. I want a relationship. So I'm not into that, but fair enough. She doesn't think you're a bad person for that.
Or quite often she'll say, okay, maybe I can work with that for now.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's where a lot of women get in trouble because they think they're going to convert a guy who doesn't want a relationship into a guy who wants a relationship. And
Right, right.
that's
But
just
also things can evolve. Like me and my girl right now, we started off as booty calls for a year, and then like we just both like slowly developed feelings, and it kind of evolved. So I
yeah.
think it can evolve. But kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, like the concept of a relationship guy, a player. I've always taught this, and tell me if you agree or disagree with this, that one is not better than the other. One thing that I find very problematic is a lot of dating advice. It like almost shames the player. It's like, yeah, no, like as if like by being a player, you're doing something wrong, right? Oh, it's wrong that you want to fuck a lot of girls, which I think dates back to like religion, which obviously is nonsense. Um, I always thought this, but I also don't agree that relationships are bad or something like that. I always thought right place, right time, right person. So if you're at a point in your life where you want a relationship, that's okay. No problem with that. If you're at a point in your life where you just want to have a lot of sex, that's okay too. And I think as long as you're honest with yourself, which a lot of people aren't, like they're like, yeah, I guess I could do a relationship. They don't want that. Like they don't want to be in a relationship, but they feel like that's what they should say. And you're honest with a person, like that's what it's all about. And yeah, so would you agree with that? Right place, right
Yeah,
time.
I mean, you got to live your truth. Like whatever you're looking for is what you're looking for. Now, I will say my personal journey and everybody else's personal journey is going to be a little bit different. And I do think that there are what's interesting, and I feel like when a guy finds a woman, and I think this is a majority of guys, not all guys. Like your situation could be different. I think when a guy finds the woman, if he wants to get married, he wants to have kids. If he finds that woman that he really, really, really loves and wants to be with, she can change his mindset on a lot of that because he almost wants the exclusivity because he doesn't want her with other people. So
I would
whether
agree
the
with that.
motivation is good or bad behind that, or if it's rooted in insecurity, I don't know. I don't think it really matters. But I will say in my life, to a point where I was just casually dating and I realized that just straight hooking up with girls in my mind was kind of a short fix to a bigger problem. Like I realized that I was sleeping with different women because I was trying to get that validation. I wasn't doing it because, I just wanted it. It was just great. And I never wanted a real relationship. I feel like for me, I always desired that. And I still do desire that real relationship with the right woman who will eventually be the mother to my children. And that just needlessly sleeping with women or women who are hot enough that want to sleep with you, I think it's a short-term fix to a bigger problem. If you're looking for a real relationship, if you're not looking for a monogamous relationship, then it doesn't matter. So that's kind of my opinion on that. We might differ on that one a little bit, but for me, just needlessly hooking up with women doesn't really serve a purpose for me anymore in my life because I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for a real relationship.
I don't think we differ too much. We differ in. I agree with your, I guess your theory, but we're just different people. Like for me, hooking up, part of it was validation, but that went away like 4 or 5 years ago. There's validation. I chase validation through YouTube subs now, so
Yeah.
I don't need
There you
validation
go.
from girls.
Your business.
Yeah, probably that's actually there's like an element of truth to that. But so for me, it was like the joy. Like I legitimately got like happiness from it. I just think it's all about like being happy, like finding ways to make yourself happy. And that legit gave me happiness. Now, what I noticed is 2 or 3 years ago, it started to shift. I no longer started feeling that like intense happiness from hooking up. And that's normal because you get to like 300, 400, like it's the same thing, it gets repetitive. And I started getting more satisfaction from my business and also from relationships. But I don't mean like exclusive. I mean like connections with people, like spending time with my friends,
Yeah.
becoming closer with my family. Like, I try to call like my parents, like, like at least every other day, like try to get better about keeping up with my friends. Like 4 years ago, let's say I have an option to hang out with my friends and there's a hot girl. I'm going to cancel all my friends. Right. But nowadays, like I'll prioritize the friends. So
Right.
that's just something that shifted for me.
And you have that gratitude as well. And if I could offer up an opinion on this and how it would apply to my life and some of the guys that I've coached that have done this, the guys who have been able to go in and be players. So there's two things that come to mind with this. The first one is porn, which I think is an interesting topic to talk about. The second thing is the casual hookups that you just talked about. So you said you went from a time where getting that hookup, the thrill of the chase, sleeping with that girl, it would overshadow maybe plans you had with your boys, going out, seeing your family, because you knew you could get in and get out and it was fun and you move on. The problem with that and the problem with porn is we're literally treating other humans like a means to an end. Like we're literally treating other people as a means to an end for our validation. So that's kind of for me why I don't think the hookup game is really where I want to be anymore. And it's not, because I see it as a very transactional thing. And sex is not supposed to just be a transactional thing. Now it can, but if you think about it, when you meet a woman that you really like and you really vibe with, like for instance, the girl that you're with now, like you might be in an open relationship, you might be doing something casual, but you care about her and for her than any other woman. So even if you're out there hooking up with other women, if she's doing the same, you want to know that she's being safe and that she's protected because you care about her as a person. And a lot of other guys who are out there, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about her or you or anybody else. So my point is, in my mind, this is me. When I find somebody, the right person, like in that moment, I'm kind of selfish about that. I don't really want to be, sharing other people or sleeping with other people. We're always going to have desires, right? Like guys with options with women are always going to have desires, but it doesn't serve a purpose for me anymore because I kind of got it out of the way. Like I had been there, I'd done that. And I realized that for me doing that was only chasing a very short-term validation, much like porn. It's like you get that post-nut clarity. And anybody who says post-nut clarity doesn't exist is an absolute idiot. I made a video on that and I had all the social justice warriors telling me that post-nut clarity was not a thing.
They've clearly never jerked off.
None of them were fucking men. I'm like, you're telling me that post-nut clarity is not a thing. You're not a man. And the main guy who tried to cancel me for that was a man who doesn't sleep with women. I was like, what are you talking about? It's not a thing.
Well, he probably gets it from banging gay dudes, right? Like, I mean, you got to guess. You still probably have the same thing with, if you're gay or whatever, or lesbian. I'm not a lesbian, but gay.
Yeah. If you're a gay guy, I'm sure you could get the same thing. But what he was trying to do is he just saw women getting frustrated with that and wanted to try to cancel me. That's
Dude, I hate shit like that.
Yeah, that's really the only reason why he did it. All of his content was about why male creators are bad and toxic masculinity and how all dating coaches are scumbags. He even stitched Dr. Wendy Walsh, who I think she has amazing content. And I couldn't believe he called her out. I'm like, dude, you're just an idiot. You're calling out a doctor who specializes in evolutionary biology and she coaches dating, and you're trying to take her off her pedestal with a Google search. You're just an idiot. There are some people out there that are so stupid, without getting off on a tangent here, whether you and I agree or not, this is a cool thing to do because we just talk through it. Yeah. We can't do that elsewhere because people want to cancel you because you don't make them, in their opinion, feel better because their opinion might be shit. You know what I mean?
There's so many things I want to add on this. So one thing I've noticed, which I find kind of funny, ironic, is those people who are like hardcore virtue signaling, the social justice warriors who are like, we got to cancel this guy Evan because he's saying some bad things, he's disrespectful to women, are literally almost every time way more rude and disrespectful and way worse people than like people like me and you. Like, for example, the whole Ask Nelly situation. Yeah. Like those people were saying, you're a horrible human being. You're so bad, as if like what I said was like so terrible. But then what are they doing was they were like DMing my girl. Like my girl was not involved in this at all, saying you have low self-esteem, you're bad, you're ugly, blah, blah, blah. Like, how is that good human being behavior? Like they were attacking me viciously saying you're a horrible human being. You have a small penis. You're ugly. Like, it doesn't affect me. I don't give a shit.
Do you want to know why? There's two reasons why.
Yeah, go ahead.
The first reason is that part of their mind knows or thinks that a percentage of what you said is true, and that because it's true, it's a threat and it's dangerous. The other thing is, since part of it's true and you shake the narrative in their mind, you're literally hitting at the root of their being. That's why politics is so dangerous to talk about sometimes, because our political views, religious views, relationship views, they all go back to what we were taught as a fucking kid. So if somebody comes in, shakes your cage, makes you think differently, you literally change that person's life. Nobody wants their narrative to be changed because it's a lot of work. Like if you have an epiphany or you have something that changes your viewpoint on something and it's hard to come to grips with, your life becomes harder. Our brains don't want more work. We want safe and we want easy. We don't want to understand other people's opinions. And I'll be real with you. There are a lot of political opinions and people on the internet that I just don't have time to care. There might be some truth to what they're saying, but my brain can't take on another project right now. So I don't need to go listen to somebody with a completely different opinion with me all the time. I'll talk to them, but I don't need to listen to that content all the time because it's just like I'm constantly playing devil's advocate in my mind. There's no reason. But that's what those people thrive on. They have nothing else to do. So what they do is they bicker with you and they complain and they shame because it scares them that you might be right, and all of it's rooted in fear.
Yeah. One thing I want to quickly add on that, and I agree that this is what a lot of people do. I don't think you have to. I think it's still a choice to some extent. Like for example, me when I was younger, I was never like a fucking social justice warrior, but I was closed off to new ideas. But I've trained myself to be open and receptive to new ideas. So when I hear something that disagrees with me, my initial gut feeling is to push back, but no, I'm just going to listen and see. That's something I've tried to do with this podcast. Like I'll have on, like I think you and I pretty much agree on like 90% of stuff. But I'll have on people who disagree with me on a lot of things. I'll have like a good conversation with them. But that's not something that the vast majority of the social justice warriors are even willing to do. They won't even have a conversation. And if they do have a conversation, it's not respectful. It's just name calling. So I find that kind of ironic. That you
Yeah.
literally just like, okay, you disagree with me. Let's have a discussion. Let's
And
listen
it's
to
not
it.
it's not really rooted in logic either. That's the
Yeah.
problem. Like a lot of the conversations become shaming, name calling, like illogical. They're going based on their emotions and how they feel about things. And it's like, well, we got to
Yeah.
talk about what's actually happening, not like how you feel.
Yeah.
Like that's how debate works. It's how conversation works. Like, let's talk about the facts and the opinion, like the facts and the opinions to stay aside and talk about some statistics and like real results. And maybe we get to the bottom of something, but they don't want to get to the bottom of something. They just want to complain and they want to say that everyone is out to get them. Like I'm assuming that you woke up today and you weren't out to get somebody, were you?
No, dude.
The people that we're talking about right now wake up out to get somebody. So they're the ones who have the problem. Those are the people trying to cancel everybody all the freaking time. Like nobody wakes up and says, I really need to cancel these people today. They literally wake up and want to end somebody's career. You tell me what's screwed up. Like you tell me who is screwed up in this scenario.
Yeah. I think one other thing that I want to quickly mention is I don't want to make it seem like just the problem is like the feminazi social justice warriors. I see almost the same problem with the hardcore red pill community. The only difference is the hardcore red pillars, they're not trying to cancel. So I will give them credit for that. They're usually
Agreed.
not
Most of them. Most of them.
Yeah. Most of them, yeah, sure. There's some exceptions. Most of them are not really pushing for that. But dude, I see the same exact type of thing on the hardcore red pill community. Most of the red pillars, they won't debate me. They won't. They want to circle jerk and have a, I'm going to actually make a post in a few days. I'm going to publicly challenge Rollo Tomasi to debate. They'll never agree. They want to circle jerk each other. So I see that. And there's also a lot of victim mindset. I see like, women nowadays, society, blah, blah, blah. And there's some elements of truth to it. Yeah, of course, divorce might be favored in the woman. And there's some things that, it's not as easy to be a white man as it was like 30 years ago. But, to say that like, life is out to get you and that women are out to get you, it's just like nonsense. Like it's still pretty easy to be a white guy.
I do agree with you there. And I will think, well, the problem with this is people will post what sells and people will post what people will view. And I'm sure you've got a lot of guys who are super red pill that watch you, which is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with, there's a lot of concepts in red pill that are absolutely true and they absolutely apply. And I think you should pay attention to things. I think you should be aware, red pill aware. But the thing is, when you let it consume you and everything you click on YouTube is about why women are awful, what do you think you're going to get? It's like waking up every day saying, I hate this job. I feel like crap. I don't want to do this today. Every day you will wake up because that's the image you've created in your mind from the words you've told yourself, just more psychology. You're telling yourself and thinking these things in your head, you're creating that reality. It's the same with red pill. Like with every piece of content somebody puts out is why the modern woman is terrible and a scam and she will take your money. It's like, that's not the case. Some women are bad. Yes. Some women are out for attention and free meals. Yes. I've experienced it. All the guys I coach have experienced it. But guess what? If you're constantly getting played and you're constantly getting used by women, whose fault is that? My game is so tight, I cannot get fucking used by women. I'm serious, dude. Like, it's so tight that I cannot. Because when I feel like I'm about to, I'm like, oh, I kind of see that. Because now I'm like a ninja with all the crap because I've seen it before. And I only allow women who are like healed and smart and normal and beautiful into my life. I don't screw around with women who are in like that phase where I have to sleep with every guy that they talk to or the ones with baggage who hate men. I just know how to avoid all of that.
Yeah, I think that's actually the trap that Fresh and Fit is in because their whole thing is they talk about, you're familiar with Fresh and Fit, right?
Yeah.
They talk about, sugar babies are bad. The woman that they say they don't like are pretty much the only girls they're willing to come out their podcast because they want the tag. Those are the girls. Like for example, like I think a normal career girl she's not going to go on their show at this point. Like maybe she would have,
Correct.
before, but like after seeing the content, if she does her research, she's not going to go on, right? Like for example, I had Courtney Ryan on the podcast, and Courtney is like really open, awesome person, willing
Shout
to
out
have
to Courtney. I love her. She is awesome. I really need her to get on TikTok. I've talked to her about it
Bro,
before. She's
after this, I'll put you guys in touch.
No, she's awesome. No, yeah, I know Courtney. We've talked before.
Oh, okay, cool.
She's great, and I love her content. She's super neutral, and I think she doesn't play like I hate the term like pick me girl. There's nothing more annoying that I see in the comments, and somebody's like, that girl is a pick me girl. It's like, no, she's just being realistic. She's being logical about what she's viewing. She coaches men, but she's not out there just stroking men's egos because she wants to, because she talks to men all the time. She's very objective about her views on certain creators. She's made videos about female creators that are great, made videos about female creators that are awful. And it's just the same with men.
Yeah, she's very objective. I think she's actually a great role model for girls. I actually have a whole video coming out on this where I logically dissect what makes Courtney Ryan better than Ask Nelly. It's going to be a very interesting video.
Fair.
Going back to this, like Courtney Ryan, like I would consider, very neutral, right? But she, I asked her, would you go on Fresh and Fit? She's like, at this point, no, because I just feel like, it's like one-sided. Like they're not willing to have an honest conversation. They just want to prove their point. And again, that's the problem that they're in, because the kind of girls that they like at this point won't go on the show. And the kind of girls that they hate are the ones who want to go on the show. Like, again, it's like the girls who want the tag. Most of the girls who want the tag aren't going to be the kind of girl you want to date. Of course, exceptions, yes. But so I find that pretty interesting. It's kind of the trap they've fallen into. But kind of going back to, because like we kind of went on a whole different, I think we could talk about this for ages, about the social justice warriors and cancel culture. Going back to relationships. So I guess my question would be this, what would you say are the keys to a successful relationship? I know it's a very broad question, but just like the big ones.
Yeah. So the number one I'm going to give is cliche. It is communication. And now in the earlier part of dating, you don't really owe each other too much communication. Definitely prioritize real dates, prioritize seeing each other in person. And if you're looking for a committed relationship, I truly believe that after 3 to 4 dates, I'm not to get in a relationship, I'm not going there, but after 3 to 4 dates, a man is going to know, do I want to stop talking to some other women to actually go on real dates with her to pursue a committed monogamous relationship, if that's what you're looking for? Because I've been in this situation before. My clients have been in this situation before where they're like, well, I've just been trained that I should always be talking to 3 or 4 girls at once. And then after 2 months, I just pick the best one. I'm like, yes, I understand that. But the financial repercussions of that, the fact that you're still pulled.
Could you expand on that? The financial repercussions? What do you mean?
Yeah. Imagine like dating to get a relationship and consistently dating 3 girls at once. You're going to be broke because society's telling you have to pay. So good luck with that.
I think this might be one area where you and I disagree on.
I didn't say it was right. I said it was
okay. Yeah, I guess for a lot of guys, yeah. Me personally, I think you and I probably largely agree on this, but I don't believe in using money to win girls over. And again, I'm at a point right now, thank God, where I could do that. Like obviously I can't flex like, a major celebrity, but I could legitimately like use my money. I could get a very nice car, right? I could do that shit right now. But I've never believed, I don't want the girl who cares about my money, which is why, for example, the girl I'm with now, like I know she doesn't give a fuck because she offers like, I have to consciously convince her not to pay. I'll be like, babe, I got this, right? Like you don't have to pay.
Which is why she's great relationship material, because she understands this is not a free ride. There are a lot of women out there, and I've seen it on TikTok too, that say women should not pay on dates. And I heard Nelly say that. And again, like I kind of know Nelly, like her and I actually follow each other on TikTok, and there's a lot of things I disagree with. There's some things that I do agree with, but the problem is you are not entitled to other people's time, money, resources. You have to earn that. That's the way the world works. And I don't care what society says about a man having to court this and whatever. If you want a real relationship, you should take the lead, schedule dates. On the first few dates, if you're a guy, I think you should pay. After you've been consistently dating for over a month or so, if she has still not offered to contribute or pay, drop her. Absolutely drop her. I would absolutely drop a woman that has not gotten her wallet out once over a month. Absolutely would not date a woman like that. People disagree. I don't care. That's me. I don't get used. I don't get played, because I'm not going to fall into the trap and also set the precedent with a woman that I'm her bank account. That's not how it goes. Like I don't date women who don't have jobs. So it's like if we're dating for over a month. If
Yeah.
we're dating for over a month and you expect me to pay for everything for you, come on. That's not
All
how
the girls I've ever
society
dated
works.
had like legit jobs. Like my first girlfriend ever was an engineer for Boeing. Like they don't have to make, just to quickly preface this, they don't have to make money. I just want them to have a legitimate job. I don't care
Right.
if I have way more money than them. I just want them to be pursuing something.
How
That's
could you
not
be
just
how could you be an adult and not have a job?
exactly. But that's like half of Miami. But kind of going back to what you said about the paying thing, I actually agree with you. Like I also would advocate my clients, yeah, just pick up the tab. It's not a big deal. When I go on dates, I always, pay. And if the girl offers, I, tell her it's okay. I got this round, right? I always
Yeah,
do that, even if I don't
100%.
really like it, unless the girl's being a total bitch. But that's that aside. The point I was trying to make with Ask Nelly that for some reason she just could not understand is I will offer to pay, but I just don't think a man should be expected. Like I don't think you're entitled automatically. Just because I do something doesn't mean you're entitled to it, right? Like
Sure.
she could not get that point across. She kept saying, "Oh, women are entitled to having the guy pay," and I was just like, "No, they're not. Just because a guy
Yeah,
does something."
she used some some creative vocabulary. She okay, this is because I watched it. So this is how I would break it down. Her
Mm.
actions would say that women are entitled to having a man pay. Those were
But
her
she never
actions,
says
how
it.
she conveyed it, but she never said the word entitled.
Yeah.
It was basically, and I completely understand where she's coming from. She said that a woman is not entitled to a man's money, but if a man doesn't pay, then he will not get a second date.
Right.
So you're
And what I thought
basically
was
saying
really,
if a man
yeah,
doesn't pay, he has not
yeah.
earned a second date. Now, let me put it to you this way. I would never not pay on a first date. I would never not pay on a first date. I will pay on every first date I go on.
Same with me, unless the girl's a bitch. Unless there's like
Oh,
some,
yeah. If it was a terrible date, I would be like, well, let's wrap this up. Let's split it because you're horrendous. But I don't think I've had a bad date like that in like a long time.
you
So it's
probably
one of
don't
those.
you
Yeah.
probably don't fuck with online dating that much though, right?
I'm on Hinge, but I don't really is what it is, because so I mean, I'm a little bit indifferent on dating apps. You can definitely meet amazing quality people on there. The interactions you can have can be amazing, but the problem is I think there's a lot of people on dating apps who don't know what they're looking for. And,
Mhm.
from a psychological perspective, most of the people statistically on dating apps are avoidant attachments. So those are the people who have kind of been in the dating pool forever and have consistently either found something wrong with people that they're dating, or they haven't really had the ability to settle down, or they're the ones who kind of jump into a situationship, jump out of a situationship, and they kind of do this back and forth thing. And if you've been on a dating app for a while in the same location, you've always seen the same women come through. So again, I'm not saying we're immune to the same criticism, because if I'm on there too and I'm seeing them come through, the shade is cast just as much at me. But it's one of those things where I see a guy, if you're a guy with existing options, a dating app is passive income. So if you got your home built, you've got your business already, and you are a guy who's open to talking to multiple women or open to looking at his options, if you already have a few options, but you still have not found the one, which I don't believe in, by the way, but the one who you want to be with, then a dating app can be passive income if you want it to. Like
Hmm.
girls come through and like you. If you're at the top of your game, you can just wait for women with super high interest, and you can just cherry pick who you talk to, and they'll message you first. But again, if you're not a guy with a lot of options, then you've got to hustle and you've got to be on dating apps.
The way I kind of see it is everything is a lead source. So Tinder's a lead source, Bumble's
Yep,
a lead source. That's why I diversify. But I don't think online dating should be your only lead source. I think you should meet girls in real life, right?
for
You
sure.
want to have a diverse lead source, ideally Instagram, to get your Instagram to that point. So I want to I don't think one is better than the other. I just think that you want to cast a wide net. You want to be very picky, very selective, but you want to cast a very wide net, right? So you don't miss out. But what do I want to touch on? Oh, back to the Ask Nelly thing, my favorite topic.
Yeah.
One thing that I thought that she did, which was very disingenuous, is I thought this was very manipulative, where she said that, oh, women, it's so hard to be a woman, the female struggle. There's elements of truth to it. Like, I'm not denying that women have a hard time with certain things. Of course, like everyone knows that. But how is that related to paying on a date? So she was trying to take a real issue that exists. Now we can debate about the severity of that issue, but there is inherently some things that are challenging for women, right? Growing up, trying to take that and use it to suit a purpose for the fact that men should have to pay, and it's just
Mhm.
like, come on, you can either
She's
be
talking
you're
about a
all about
very she's talking a bit about a very macro level complex problem. and bringing it to the micro level of a date.
Yeah.
My question would be, do you, to her, and there's no offense, this is to anybody who says a man always has to pay. Do you have a job? Her answer is yes. Do you have money? Her answer is yes. Do you have interest in this man? Her answer most likely will be yes. Then why, after 3 or 4 dates, have you not offered to do anything? Not offered to pick up a bottle of wine, not offered to pay? It's not right. It's not right. You have a job, you have a bank account. Why is a man spending all of his resources and time on you, and you're not investing any of it other than showing up? You're not, if you're a woman doing that, you're not bringing your best, you're not putting your best foot forward to get a boyfriend if you actually want a boyfriend, because other women out there will. That's the difference. Other women out there who I've seen that have high interest, I don't think I've dated one woman in the last year who after the first 3 or 4 dates has not offered to bring over a bottle of wine, hang out. Do you need me to pick something up? Can we split this one? Because she's interested in me and she wants it to go well and wants to show she's putting in effort. A woman who does not do that, I will not talk to. So a man who's a high value man is not going to put up with that shit. A high value man, just because he has money, doesn't mean he's going to spend it on you. So if there's women who are watching this, I hope you understand that, yeah, it's good that a man will pay for the first few dates and he will court you and he will plan and he will be pursuing you to a degree, but he's not your bank account. So it's just not how it works. And the other thing, I made a video about this. Women love to say, I do it for me. Like, I bought all these expensive clothes. I've got like this amazing skincare routine, like all this, that, whatever. And I respect that. The pictures you post, how you look and how beautiful you are, that is for you. And you should keep doing it for you. But never use the excuse that I spent $400 on my hair and you owe me dinner. Because I've seen that as a counter argument to my "you're not entitled to men paying on dates" video. And it was literally like, you don't understand how expensive it is for us to get ready for a date. And I said, that's fine. You don't do it for us. You do it for you. Not a one person could combat that argument. Not one human being could say that that was wrong. Because
how about after the date, I bring you to a box that I own on the street and we bang there? What? No, I don't want to do that. Well, so you know how hard I had to work for my nice penthouse. Like, yeah, that's such bad logic. Yeah. One thing that what was I going to say? Damn, I had a point. It just completely escaped my mind. It was something on the topic of paying. Oh yeah, one thing like all the girls I've ever dated, like legitimately dated, I think they all offered to even pay on the first date. Now I didn't let them. I said, don't worry about it. But I think most of them were like almost like my girl now, like she insists on it. I have to I'd be like, stop, I got this.
She's like, she's already paid for it. I mean, Trip over at Trip Advice made a TikTok the other day, and he literally said, gentlemen, if you're on a date with a woman and she doesn't at least offer to pay or do anything on that date, do not date that woman again. Trip's been doing this a long time. He's not stupid. He's not a fool. He's in a good relationship. He gets it. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of guys who have had success with women know that money is not the way to a real relationship. If you got a lot of money and she wants your money, you're just getting used.
Yeah. Oh, the 2 points I wanted to make is, one is, I think the problem though is there's this percentage of guys who actually do want to pay for everything because they think that's the only way they can get the girl. And to them, like I've heard, for example, chicks, who do out escorting or, are into like fetish stuff. They say there are some guys who get off on just paying for shit. They don't even want to fuck me. They just want to buy me a lot of stuff. And they just want to see the look on my face when they give me like a $2,000 purse. And there's a percentage of men who want to do that. And so I think that kind of muddies the waters a little bit. I think if men, we could all just sit down, make a pact. Like, listen, guys, we're not going to lead with our wallets. We're not going to lead with our wallets. Like, we would be better off as like a gender. I think that's the first thing. I think going back to the man should have to pay because of the female struggle. I would say to that girl, okay, are you willing to accept a pay gap? Are you willing to make 50% less than the man? No, of course not. So you're not willing to accept a pay gap. So why then do you feel a man should, there should be a pay gap with dates, right? Look, I understand if women were paid less, then it would kind of make sense for the man to pay. But, nowadays, again, in practice, it doesn't always work out that way. But in theory, we have equal wages, right? So,
yeah,
like, why? Why should the man have to be entitled?
Because it's a societal thing that's been passed down a few generations that benefits them, and they're okay with accepting that additional benefit, but not okay doing anything during the early parts of the dating process that would denote them earning a guy to pay for them. So it's like a weird dynamic. I will say too, like, most women who would consider themselves like very devout feminists, which like, hey, I respect, like those are your beliefs. Like everybody has different beliefs, and
Yeah.
you can be some end of the spectrum of feminism or not feminism, whatever, and that's cool. And like I'm great with that. I respect the hell out of women. I think men and women should be treated the same in business and
Yeah.
life and have all the same rights. Like anybody who doesn't think that is a total piece of garbage, in my opinion.
I think
But you can't-
just to quickly add
yeah,
something, because I think women say a lot of the feminists, the argument they'll make is, oh, men don't want that. But I think that 99% of men, 99.9% of men agree with that. They think a woman should have
yeah,
equal pay, equal everything. What they disagree with is the fact that men should be persecuted and shamed. But like they're basically making a straw man argument, because who are these guys that don't think that you should have equal rights? I'm sure there's some
correct.
out there, but they're the extreme minority.
Right. And those guys are horrible and shouldn't even be representing the male race, in my opinion. But
Right.
the problem with that whole conversation is like, yeah, we can go based on all that, but if you are a devout feminist and you truly believe in everything that goes along with that, then why are you entitled to allowing a man to pay for you?
Right.
Like, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't add up. And again, another question that nobody can give me a good logical answer to, and it's been posed all the time. And what it comes down to is the fact that men and women should have equal treatment, equal pay for equal work. But men and women are different, and that is okay. And if you don't believe that, you're stupid. If you're a feminist who thinks that men and women are literally the same and that it should be the same and that the differences between us is sociological conditioning, you are stupid and you don't understand biology. So
Yeah.
my point being is you can't cherry pick what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And that goes
Right.
for men or women. You should not be picking and choosing your benefits to make it all benefit you, because life is not fair at times and we are different. Another thing you asked me earlier about like what makes a really great relationship is, yeah, communication is one, but there needs to be polarity. And the polarity needs to be in, yes, I believe in masculine and feminine energy to an extent, but it also needs to be complementing personalities and not competing personalities. And what I often find is that if you have a female executive and a male executive and you have
That's
two
not gonna work.
CEOs in a relationship, that's hard. That's hard, man. Like you have two type A dominant personalities in a relationship. That's hard, man.
Yeah.
Every company, think about this in a business sense. No company goes out and hires 2 or 3 CEOs. They got a CEO, they got a marketing person, they've got a
Right.
chief revenue officer, they've got a chief financial officer, and they got a chief people officer, a chief HR officer. They don't hire 6 of the same freaking people. It's the
Right.
same relationship. You need the people in a relationship to complement one another. And if they don't complement one another, you're just going to be butting heads. Or the bottom end of the spectrum, you have 2 people who are passive and there's no passion in the relationship.
Right.
So there needs to be that polarity between the 2 partners in the relationship for
Yeah.
there to be passion.
Yeah. I very much agree with that. I think when it comes to sex, the man should be the dominant, the woman should be the submissive. And sometimes you have situations where the woman is the dominant, the man's submissive. I would argue those never work out long term, because you're going against biology. But okay.
So I can make a counter argument to that. A long-term relationship will and can work by doing that, but the sex is going to be horrendous.
Okay, where the woman is the dominant, you mean, right?
Yeah. Like,
Okay.
exactly. So say that the woman is alpha, the guy's beta, whatever you want to use. Those terms are annoying to me, but those terms. So think about it this way. The man could be super, super agreeable and the woman could be relatively bossy, telling him what to do, like having a dominant personality. That relationship can work because the guy's so agreeable and maybe he saw from his parents that his mother was the same way and she nagged the dad all the time. And that's the love language that he learned. He can live with that. He can make that work, but he's not going to be happy and the sex is going to be very few and far between. But the relationship can actually last. I've seen it many times. It's not that it's going to be an ideal relationship to me. That's my opinion. That's not my opinion of an ideal relationship, but that long-term relationship can last.
Sure. People will put up with a lot. Certain people will put up with a lot. Like you have situations where a woman is literally getting beaten by the guy. Her friends are like, get out of that. She's like, but we have a nice house. Like, people will put up a lot of shit in relationships. Sometimes they shouldn't. I don't believe they should. I think people, should have boundaries and should be willing to walk away from things if, the cons outweigh the pros. But yeah, you see this all the time with like people just putting up with shit. What was the other point I wanted to make? I think it was something with paying. Oh yeah, just one other thing is, one thing that I think is an important trait in a girl for long term is that she is willing to learn the male struggle. So there's the female struggle, there's the male struggle. I think a misconception is that a lot of red pill guys think, oh, it's so easy to be a woman, so hard to be a man. A lot of feminists think it's so easy to be a man, so hard to be a woman. In reality, we just have different challenges, right? I'm not
Yeah.
going to say one is harder than the other. They're just different. It's like what tastes better, an orange or an apple. They're just different, right? Or that's not even a good analogy. What tastes better,
Yep.
orange or pizza, right? Like they're two different things. And so I want a woman, like for example, my girl, she is interested in learning. Doesn't mean she has to be a red pillar. Doesn't mean she has to be like, not like my girl considers herself a feminist. I don't think she really is in the traditional definition of the word, but she considers herself that, right? But she's more like about equal rights. But she wants to learn about the male struggle and like, why, and that like, I don't know, that kind of earned her a huge amount of respect. So any girl I'm going to be with long term, I want her to be empathetic and I want her not to just put her team first. Like she has to be objective and look at, my situation. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree, but it's situational. I personally would agree with that because I care about this stuff. Some people don't give a shit about it. Some people don't even talk about it. So for us, yes. For other people, it might not matter.
I guess I don't mean as much when it comes to theory, just like the chat, like my girl, for example, should know that, like the certain things that are harder for men, right? She should understand that, for example, a female waitress will make more money than a male waiter or something like that. Like, I guess, I don't know. I just want her to be like conscious. Yeah, maybe I am biased because, I do this stuff for work. But I thought it'd be interesting to actually compare what are like our list of qualities for a long-term relationship and see what the overlap is. Because I would bet you it's going to be like 90% overlap. So what would you say are like the qualities that you look for in a girl besides physical attractiveness for long-term relationships?
Okay, so it's going to be loyalty,
Mhm.
intelligence,
Mhm.
supportive or nurturing. We could
Mhm.
throw into the same bucket. Um, I mean, she does have to be attractive. Like obviously, physical
Obviously.
attraction is almost always number one for men.
Yeah.
Any man who says it's not is kind
Yeah,
of
it's
a
lying.
liar. It's
Yeah.
kind of a liar. It's like literally statistically and scientifically, it's number one for men. Like all
Yeah.
research indicates it is number one for men. Short term and long term relationships, attraction is number one. Trying to think what else. It has to be like in shape or care about health and fitness.
Mhm.
Like I care so much about like health,
Yeah.
fitness, nutrition, like motivation, entrepreneurial stuff. So I care about a lot about that stuff. So those would be my top ones. I can't think of like too many other ones where it's like a has to do X, Y, Z.
I would add honesty and transparency to the list. I
Yeah.
need someone who's like, if I were to catch a person in a lie, doesn't matter, man or woman, I immediately lose trust for them. So I can never catch my
Yep.
girl in a lie because then I lose respect, and then
You're right.
I'm wondering. So she has to be very honest and transparent. That would be a big one. I would add, like I think you kind of mentioned it, but good sense of humor. Like she cannot have a stick up her ass. She cannot be super uptight. Like
She
uh,
can't get offended over every little thing or like want to turn everything into a complaint. Yeah, she has to be
yeah,
positive. I like positive women.
awesome.
And please don't nag me. Like I feel like I'm doing a lot right and I'm gonna like help you and be here to support you and take care of you and stuff. Like, please don't nag me.
Yeah,
You
no
know
one
what I
likes
mean?
that.
I want someone who's gonna help motivate me and push me to be better, but
Right.
don't nag me about the small shit.
Not a victim. That's a big one. A lot of people are victims nowadays. I don't want to date a victim. I want to date a girl who's like she's like, yeah, I have this problem. Now I'm gonna take some action, babe. What do you think I should do, this or that? I don't want a girl who's like for 5 hours. So this is the problem. Like not a victim. That's another big one. I would say I need someone because I'm pretty, I don't know, demanding in some ways. I need someone very easygoing. That's not to say she needs to be a pushover, but she has to be accommodating. Like it kind of like you said, very supportive. That's a must. In terms of sexuality, definitely like sexually submissive. That's like 90% of girls. One thing is I need her to be like somewhat sexually. I don't know what the term is. Not promiscuous. Some like in touch with her sexuality. Meaning, I don't want a super repressed girl. I don't want a girl who like after we have sex every time needs to like pour holy water on her head or something like that. That's why I usually don't date like super religious girls. Like I don't want that. I don't care if she's not that experienced, but I want her to be aware and not ashamed about her sexuality.
Like
But
open.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, hey, I like this. I like it when you do that. I think that makes things a lot better. Yeah, I would say those are like the big ones. But I always made the argument that there's three components to this. There's you, there's the girl, and then there's the relationship. And the relationship is actually a separate entity because she can be a great girl, you can be a great guy. But for example, resentment, relationship because something happened, that's going to weigh you guys down. So those are like the three separate components. And sometimes people forget that the relationship is almost like a separate component. Like, oh, but she's a great girl. Yes, but the relationship is in a bad place because there's resentment. And once you get that, it's really hard to come back from that.
I've never really thought about it that way. I mean, I like what you're saying. I've just never really thought about it that
Yeah.
way, as it being like an extension of YouTube, but separate from
Yeah.
YouTube. I've never really thought about it that way. It's very interesting.
Because let's think about it this way. Like, let's say she's a great girl, he's a great guy, but let's say for whatever reason someone cheats, right? Maybe it was like a situation, maybe they were on hiatus, right? Maybe it was like, and the girl forgives the guy. Hey, babe, I completely forgive you. It's in the past. Let's move on. It's still like there's still that resentment in the relationship. And maybe 2 years from now, when something else happens, that person will draw back from that thing. So I try to like always keep like a clean slate in the relationship. Like that's why like a big thing that me and my girl have been working on is just being very transparent with each other and talking about something before it boils up. So if there's something that's bothering us, saying it and not letting it just kind of fester. A problem I had with one of my previous relationships, great girl, also horrible communication. So she would just let things boil up, and then she would just kind of not snap. She was never aggressive, but she would just be, like really upset. She's like shaking there. I'm like, yo, relax your titties. Like, what's wrong? And she just let so much stuff build up. And if she told me like 2 weeks earlier, we could have completely prevented that. So yeah, I think communication can be taught, but it's got to be someone that's willing to communicate well.
And that's why I think you value transparency, because you don't want to have a situation again that comes up where essentially somebody could have just gotten it off their chest when it happened and it didn't have to boil up and become such a big problem. But again, a lot of that stems from like the fear of not being accepted by you, or they'll say something and they think you'll get mad about it, or they feel like they're being insecure. And then it just sits there and bottles up, and then they finally bring it up. Right. Like, I think if you're not scared to clearly communicate what you're actually looking for out of life in a relationship, it's just going to go better, because like we talked about earlier, just being, putting the paper on the table and seeing if that person wants to take the deal. Like, hey, here's me, here's what I'm looking for. It's okay if it might not be you, but here's what I desire. Here's what I want. And then they'll accept that or not accept that. And when you're going in on false pretenses or lies, it's not going to work, because eventually the truth will come out. The truth will always come out in a relationship.
Right. Yeah, and honestly, like I'm not even perfect at this stuff. Like I've definitely been working on one thing I've been working on the past few months is transparency. Like I've always been a very honest person, but sometimes I think there's a difference between honesty and transparency. So you can be honest, but if you're not asked the question, maybe you don't say something you should have been upfront about. And something I've learned in the last few months is I do have a habit of gaslighting girls. I don't never directly lie, but sometimes they could be thinking they think that this is going somewhere. I know that's what they're thinking, and I don't say anything, right? It's not lying, but it's kind of gaslighting. So I've been trying to work on that. So I think there's definitely like you learn a lot about yourself through game and through relationships. You learn different things. I think both are important. But anyway, kind of going back to what are some other great tips that you think are essential for a good relationship? We got communication, obviously, it's a huge one.
I think understanding that it's very easy for us to judge other people based on their actions, but people's actions are really just a representation of kind of how they learned how to do things, and whether that's right or wrong. Like, I don't think a lot of people go into a situation with really bad intentions. It's just like we talked about earlier with like the social justice stuff. You and I and most people don't wake up in the morning saying, how can we fuck somebody over today? It's the same with a relationship. Like, people don't want to always get into fights. People don't want to do whatever. But when people are fearful that what their partner is doing is not in the mutual best interest, that's when people start to get divisive in relationships. And really just understanding that if your partner makes a mistake, or it's, but it was in like good conscience, like not crushing them for that. I think a lot of people can be very like harsh on one partner. It usually works unilaterally. Like, the woman can really nag the shit out of a man because she doesn't respect him, or a man can really crack the whip on a woman because he has that dominant authority, which again is why feminism happened, because men abused the power that they had in relationships over women. So understanding that acting out or lashing out against your partner during an argument or because they do certain things is not the right way to come up with a better behavior. It's the same with psychology and children and everybody. If you want to impact a change on somebody, it's not going to happen by berating them, because then they don't
100%.
They don't trust you, and they don't accept your opinion or desires because they fear you. And when
they feel attacked, they close off.
Yeah, they close off. But also when they do something that you say that you want them to do, they're doing it out of fear, or they're doing it because they're nervous about the relationship. And if somebody doesn't feel, like, a woman needs to feel comfortable in a relationship. She needs to respect you, but she also needs to feel comfortable around you, because if she doesn't, then she's going to bottle up all that bullshit that we're talking about, and it's going to explode. It will be your problem, or she will just feel uncomfortable and leave. Like, that's what a lot of guys don't understand. A lot of guys think that a woman gets comfortable and complacent in dating, she's going to leave you because you're an option. She knows where you're at. Dude, we're talking about relationships. We're not talking about gaming a girl from the bar. We're talking about a relationship with a human being that you love and respect. It is different. It's different than pickup.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes, your girl, and part of that is just not being judgmental. If you're judgmental, your girl's not going to be comfortable around you.
Yeah.
And you have to be non-judgmental. That's the first thing. Yes, you want the girl to be very comfortable with you in a relationship. That's a good thing. There's a difference between girl getting comfortable
versus complacent, or like getting bored.
Yeah, or a girl just losing respect for you, right? I think that I think the minute the girl loses respect for the guy, that relationship is done, right?
Yep.
It's not going to work. I think the guy should respect the girl also a lot. Like, you have to have that. Like my girl currently, like, I have extremely high level of respect for her. Like, if she tells me something, like, like, hey, I think you should do this, like, her opinion is going to be number one. I might not necessarily do what she says, but, like, I put her opinion above, like, pretty much every other opinion, but the possible exception of, like, my family. So I think that's got to be there. So if you're in a situation where you're like, oh, that's just my girl talking, man, she doesn't know, that's not a good relationship, right? That's already on troubled waters. Like, I see that a little bit with my dad. Like, he has a girlfriend, and I'll be, not my mom, but he has a girlfriend, and he'll say, yeah, I'll be like, so what did, I'm not going to dox her, but what did blank say? And he'll be like, she said this, but women. I'll be like, I do know women, but, like, that's already, like, an issue in the relationship.
Yeah, but man, and that's also that old school persona, like, which is why I can understand feminism and understand women's struggles. And I coach women, dude. I coach a lot of women. I understand the struggles. I understand what they're going through and what women went through. But it doesn't mean that men are still like that, because the men who are still like that, who are like, woman moment, or, she's just a woman, like, I'll take it with a grain of salt. The guys who think like that, they're literally getting canceled, because they don't respect women as people.
Let me just say, though, that maybe they're not popular in our space, but they exist. Like, for example, my dad, right? Like, my dad respects women, but he does have, like, some bad habits. Again, it makes sense. He's an old school Russian guy. Like, he literally barely speaks English. But, like, there's a lot of guys, they're just not vocal, right? They maybe they're working construction, they own businesses, they do this, they do that. So I do think there's a lot of guys out there. And I think that, a person can change. And that's not to say that you have to, like, necessarily, like, change completely and go against your core beliefs. I just think that a lot of it is also partner selection. Like, like, that's women. There's a lot of women who fall into that's women. But, like, I try to pick intelligent girls, right? Who I don't know. Like, to me, it's like, what does a woman know about business? But you have an intelligent woman. She should understand business. She doesn't have to be like a CEO, but so yeah, I think that's, like, I just could never long-term date a dumb girl. Like, I have to, like, think that she's at least somewhat as smart as me. It's like, I don't know, I just couldn't date a bimbo, I guess. I don't know how guys do that. Again, for hookups, yeah, it's not a problem. For, like, long term, that's like very
no, I agree with you.
One thing I think would be very interesting for you to expand on is, because you coach both men and women. I primarily coach men. I coach, like, one chick, who I later wound up hooking up with, but that's a different story. What's the difference? What would you say are some of the key differences between the male struggle and the female struggle, based on your experience?
We're looking for different things. To be straight up and transparent, women come to me with very different questions than men come to me with. But I think a lot of people have the ultimate, like, same ideal outcome. And the ultimate outcome that most people are looking for, number one, is clarity. People want clarity on their current situation, because when they come to me, they're struggling. I've never had someone come to me who's not struggling with a current situation, or a situation that just happened that they can't understand. So people want clarity. They want to understand what's going on. And because most people make decisions in relationships out of, this fear that they're not enough, or this pain, or they're not accepted by their partner, or that they're not good enough, so they're not going to get somebody else. They need to understand how to not let it happen again. And that's the motivation for a lot of people who are seeking, like, dating relationship advice. Like, this hurt so bad. What can I do to not let this happen again? And there are a good amount of things that men and women can do to prevent themselves from getting hurt again, but it's not a guarantee. Like, you need to understand, if you're going to trust another human in a relationship and with a lot of aspects of your life and secrecy and trust, they could totally screw you over. And you have to understand that you're going to relationship based on that you could get screwed over. So men primarily come to me when they're getting ghosted, the girl they were talking to pulls back, or they got broken up with. Women, a lot of times, and this kind of fits into the red pill thing, usually come to me when they're trying to pick the right guy. Women usually come to me when, and I'll use this term for the red pill guys, when Chad and Tyrone are over here not doing what she wants, and Tim is doing everything just right, but she just doesn't know why she doesn't like Tim. So very red pill, but very true.
What do you tell a girl like that? What would be your advice?
That's a good question. I unpack it for her on why she feels like that. And the reason why she feels like that is unhealed trauma. People who are attracted to people who treat them like shit need therapy. It's that straight up. It's that straight up.
I would very much agree with that.
And most men, especially, don't want to come to grips with that. Most men who are into toxic girls, it's almost okay for them to be into toxic girls if they just want to sleep with them, because it's nothing more than sleeping together. Yeah. But a lot of guys keep getting into relationships with toxic women because this is kind of what they've learned throughout their life. Or there's this thrill that they want to convert this toxic girl into, like, my girlfriend, like, she's treating me like shit. Maybe I can get her to treat me well. And by doing all these things, correct, she'll treat me well. And women do that all the time. Women do that more than men. Men are looking for sex. It's really like that straightforward. Men want to get the most attractive woman that they can within reason. And women also,
sometimes without reason.
yeah. But here's the thing. Here's what a lot of people say. People think that women place money, value, resources, and status over attraction. They don't. Statistically, psychologically, both men and women view physical attraction as the primary indicator of whether they would date someone short-term or long-term. There's a lot of research on that. I did a lot of research on that a couple months ago and put a video out on it. So that's number 2 for women, though: money, resources, status, authority. Men, it's a conglomerate of other things below attraction. It's a bunch of shit. But men are much more physically oriented than women. So regardless, men come to me when they don't know why a woman pulled back. They can't get women to do what they'd like them to do, and they want to know how to either get more options with women or get a girl back that they lost. Now, women usually come to me when those things have happened, or also when they have multiple options of men and they don't know who to pick. But the thing is, they're always leaning towards the guy that's the worst. Because the guy that's the worst is the one that's not doing what they want, and they want to correct his behavior and mold him into the guy that's doing what she wants, because she'll feel like she won. There's no prize for turning a shitty dude into a good guy. And I make videos like that all the time for women. You don't get anything for that. What is the benefit? Go with the dude who respects you to begin with. But unfortunately, women who need to go to therapy, who aren't healed, who really probably did view that toxic masculinity, if you want to think that that's a real term, who viewed that toxic masculinity growing up and became comfortable in that toxicity, become comfortable as adults attaching themselves onto shitty men.
Yeah, dude, we need to remove the stigma from therapy. Like I'm always public about it. I've done a shitload of hypnotherapy. I've gone to talk therapists, and I don't see it as a crutch. I see it almost as like, okay, this person has worked on themselves, right? I'm not saying everyone needs therapy. There's some people who are healthy, but like, I think a lot of people could benefit from therapy. Doesn't mean you have to go for the rest of your life. Doesn't mean you have to be on pills, but like just talking things out with someone. The problem also with therapy is like therapists are not all the same. Some therapists are great.
Exactly.
And some therapists literally will not help you at all. So it's like finding the right therapist, which I think a lot of people struggle with. And
I agree.
Like really great.
A lot of different kinds of therapy, like you said too. Like, gotta understand, the most successful people in the world, they go to therapy. It's not necessarily like, hey, unpack my relationship bullshit. It's like, how can I perform? Like, how can I be a high performing human being? The best athletes, executives, and people in this world go to therapy to put their life into a different gear that it's not in today. Because like, you're literally trapped by this thing right here. You're trapped. Right.
I would make the argument that what you and I do are like, it's not therapy per se, but it's like in that realm. It's coaching. Now, I'm not going to get into deep psychological issues, because I just refuse. Like, sometimes clients ask me, but I won't do that because I could be doing them a disservice.
Agreed.
But like, So, but there's some coaches who will, go down that road. I don't think they should. I don't think unless you're an expert on something, I don't think you should be teaching other people. Which is why I'm very hesitant to like get into like, okay, let's explore when Grandpa Billy raped you. Like, I don't want to go down that road.
No, coaches shouldn't touch that.
Yeah,
I refer a lot of people to therapy. I don't touch that. It's not my
yeah.
business.
I mean, I think it could be good sometimes to combine like a dating coach with a therapist, like to kind of hit both ends of the nail on the head. Um, but yeah, I think the stigma with therapy needs to be removed. And I think more people who have like a following need to come out and say like, hey, listen, therapy is okay. I personally do therapy because but someone like whatever, let's say 5,000 people are going to watch this. Let's say maybe 10% of them, 500 are thinking about going to therapy, right? When they hear me and you say like, it's okay. It doesn't make you worse. It's not a weakness. They're like, oh shit, maybe I should do it.
Especially as a guy. There's much more stigma for men to go to therapy than for women. Like a lot of women, I'm going to do a live session on TikTok tomorrow with her account is so my mom's a therapist, and she's absolutely blowing up on TikTok right now. She's only been doing it 3 or 4 months. She's got like 250,000 followers. I'm doing a live session with her tomorrow, and I just know based in the comment section, the vast majority of her followers are women, because men might follow it, but they're scared to interact, or they're scared to admit that they have a problem because people view therapy or going to therapy as a weakness, which doesn't make sense. Like,
doesn't make sense.
Like the middle school bully here saying you shouldn't go to therapy. Like, the fuck.
Yeah. One thing that I will say to anyone who's watching this, who's thinking about therapists, be very selective with your therapist. Don't commit to the first person. Try out a few different therapists, see who you vibe with the most. Look at their, like, if they have reviews, look at their reviews. You should be picky because all therapists are not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Just like all dating coaches are not the same. There's some dating coaches who give this a horrible name, like who are teaching shit that's way incorrect. I think one area kind of somewhat related to this where you and I might disagree, or maybe not. So if someone comes to me and says, hey, man, really what I want at this point in life is a relationship. So what I would say, what's my best? So the question is, what's my best way of attaining a successful relationship? This is the advice I would give. I'd say, okay, that's good. You're honest about what you want. Cast a really wide net. Start going on dates with girls. Go on from Bumble, cold approach. Try meeting girls through friends, every type of way. Play around, play the field. Now, it doesn't mean that. And then once you find the girl that you connect with the most, then take it to the next level. Until you get to that exclusive relationship where you guys commit to each other, still keep playing your options, right? Just keep your options open. I would say like just don't rush into things. That's like the big piece of advice I would have. Just make sure that you're selective and you pick the girl correctly, and don't just jump. Like I think that if guys had a lot more options, a lot of problems would get resolved because they wouldn't be as desperate, and they would be more willing to focus on things like personality and honesty rather than just physical looks. Would you kind of agree with that, or?
I would agree with that, but I would still differ a little bit on the ideal amount of time that it would take to stop dating other women. And I used to think differently about this. I used to think about like, don't date other women until you're in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship because you can do what you want. There's no title. Here's the thing in my mind. If you've gone on 4 solid dates with a woman and you're like, this girl seems like she could be a solid girlfriend, but I still need to give it some more time, stop fucking other women. Stop fucking other women. Because here's the issue that I have with all this. If you want to give it your best shot, first and foremost, you should be fine only sleeping with one woman. If you can't go a month, say you date a girl for a month and you're talking to and sleeping with other women, after that first month, you've identified one girl that seems like a really great girlfriend. Give it another month or 2 where you're only dating her to see if you really want to be with this person. If you can't go a month and a half or 2 without talking to multiple women, that is a you problem. That is an external validation. No, true, real talk. That could be a you problem, because me personally, I'm cool enough, and everyone's different. I'm cool enough being single and alone. So if I start to cut off my other options and I start to date this one girl or give it a shot and it doesn't work out, I don't care. I don't have the scarcity mindset that when I go back to the drawing board, I can't find another girl or 2 or 3 that I could date. My point being is, what you don't want to have happen is, if you're a guy looking for a monogamous relationship, you don't want to get caught up or trip up and fuck up the opportunity with an amazing woman, all because you couldn't keep yourself out of multiple holes. That's my honest answer to that. If you don't have the ability to put other women on the back burner or get rid of them when you think you found what you wanted, you will never find what you want. You'll never be happy with one woman.
I would say I would agree with that, but I would say not never. If you're at a point, because people change, the priorities change. If you're at a point in your life right now where you can't be just with one girl, it doesn't mean that you won't be there in 10 years. That's the big
It's a
disagreement.
long time, bro. It's a long time. If you wait until your late 30s,
Five years.
If you wait 5-10 years, you better start dating women who are younger than you, because we all know this, and this is not a mutually exclusive thing to men or women. A lot of people who are single in their 30s are jaded as fuck, and they don't want to date, and they're miserable. And that's not a she hit the wall or, he reached his peak. It has nothing to do with that. People who are in their late 30s that I have coached or talked to that are single, that want a committed monogamous relationship, are jaded as shit with the other sex.
That's interesting that you say that, because I would almost say the opposite. I've dated girls in like like 19, 20, not like teens,
sure,
and 20s and 30s. Right, I usually don't go in the 40s, and I've almost found that I prefer girls in the early 30s than the early 20s, because the girls in the early 30s are more like mature. They're not like trying to party. They're more like developed as a human being. Their personality is very developed. And I don't know, I've like most of the girls I've been in like relationship with, they have been my age. They were like, maybe like a few years younger, but
yeah,
I've almost like preferred the girls, like again, not for sex, but for like long-term compatibility.
Sure. Oh yeah, early 20s is those girls, they don't know what they want. Older, I mean, really, really young girls, they don't know what they want yet, and that's their prerogative. They might want to have fun, they might want to hook up. That's their prerogative. They can do what they want. I think really the sweet spot that I've seen from people that I've coached and just guys that I've had talking to women, and for me personally on dating apps, it's like that 24 to 30 mark is where a lot of women are like, okay, I'm ready to settle down now. I'm ready to be in a relationship. But here's the thing, man. If you're dating a woman, and this could be flipped the script, so I don't want women to think I'm calling them out, but I will use men dating women as an example. If you're a guy and you're dating a woman who's 38 and single, there's a reason she's single. Just like if you're dating a guy who's 38 and single, there's a reason that he's single. So the thing is it because they don't really want a monogamous relationship, which is fine because it's their prerogative? Is it because they have ex-divorce baggage? They have kids? Like, dude, there's just so much shit that comes up when you start to get that mature in age that is not your problem. Me coming into this situation as a single guy, I don't want drama. I don't want to inherit problems. I don't want to deal with an ex-husband or an abusive ex-boyfriend or a child. I don't want that shit, man. I'm coming with a clean slate, clean enough, or at least I want someone else to have a relatively clean slate.
Except the AIDS.
Yeah, exactly. Come in with that. You can't get rid of that. So my point being is, it's much easier to find someone who's not jaded with dating and relationships when they're in their mid-20s to early 30s. Because when you get past that, there's just inevitably going to be those few guys who just broke the shit out of her heart. I'm telling you. And you have to deal with that. You have to deal with that.
I think when it comes to averages, you might actually be correct. I don't really have any experience that corroborates this, but in theory, it sounds like that makes sense. I think on averages, I do think there's a shitload of exceptions, though. For example, you have a chick who got into a serious relationship when she was 19, when she was 35, she found out her husband has been cheating on her, is banging little boys or whatever. And so, it's not her fault, but it's a relationship. Like, she was lied to and she gets a divorce, right? So she's 35, she's single. Or you have another situation where, for example, a girl was maybe had some toxic, behaviors in her 20s. Then when she was 32, 33, she got tired of it. She got therapy, and now she's fixed her issues. So I do think you have like a shitload of exceptions like that, where there is a legitimate reason why the girl is single at that age. Another one could be that she was like very career focused. She just never had time to go out. Maybe she used to have a little bit of a weight problem, and then she started taking her health seriously in her 30s. I remember one chick I hooked up with in Arizona. Man, she was like a hot ass MILF. And she's like, "You want to see me? You want to see me 5 years ago?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're probably even hotter." Boom, fucking beluga whale. she's like, "I got tired of being the fat girl." Like, damn. So I do think you see, but again, exception is not the rule.
Yeah, this is not a rule at all. This is just kind of like generalizations based on what I've seen. But yeah, there's a lot of people who are exceptions to the rule for sure.
Yeah. But one thing I want to touch on is we're talking about earlier, like meeting girls. So what is your preferred way of meeting girls? Are you like online, cold approach, day game, night game?
The highest success in my mind, if you're a guy looking for the easiest beginning to the dating process, like the highest quality interactions, like actually dating a woman, like highest quality, not the best in my mind. The highest quality is going to be meeting somebody in person before you go on a real date. Dating apps will always get you the most options, but meeting somebody in person somehow is always going to get you more quality interaction.
I would generally agree with that. Like my observations and like my current girl.
Can I double down on why?
Yeah,
You
of
and
course.
I could meet at the gym someday. Be like, man, Alex is a cool dude. I like this guy. You know what I mean? He's a solid guy. I like this guy. Like, let's
He
grab a
doesn't
beer.
really train legs, but
Yeah, he doesn't hit legs, so I know he's lazy, but he's a solid guy. He's a nice guy. So I can meet you in person and be like, okay, I kind of see what this guy's about. We built some rapport. I know what he likes to do. He's got a good energy. He seems like a nice guy.
yeah.
Now, I could meet somebody who's like a friend of a friend that I've never met. They're like, they're inviting this guy to this party. I'm like, okay, cool. And like, I meet him there, but like he was already in. But I was like, if I met this guy before, I never would have gone to the fucking party with that guy. He was a total douche. Same with women. I can see a woman on a dating app that's got all this amazing marketing, just like she's a hot social media influencer, and she's just totally rude and self-absorbed.
So
if I met her in person before that date, I'm gonna know whether I want to go on a date with her or not. I don't care how hot she is. If she sucks, she sucks. So it's the same way with a quality interaction. When you're going on a dating app, you're going in blind. You're going in relatively blind. All you know is what she looks like, what she does, how old she is. If you meet her at the gym, the store, in a parking lot, you can at least get 2 to 3 minutes to see how she acts, how she vibes, what her voice sounds like, what she smells like, how tall she is. Is she fit? Does she look like her pictures? But again, dating apps are always going to be the highest number touch point to get a date with somebody. It's, you just have to be on them if you're single.
Yeah. I do think that there are techniques and things you can do to minimize the chance of them sucking. You can never eliminate it. Like it still happens to me from time to time. I do think there's things you can do. Like when it comes to looks, obviously, Instagram, FaceTime, there are tools. I actually made a video on how to spot a catfish where I dissected all the little tricks girls use in their pictures on Instagram. Because sometimes a chick looks hot on Instagram, but she's not hot in real life. So I kind of try to dissect this. But if you know what you're looking for, you can minimize it. The second thing is with her personality. There are also things with texting where, like, I think it does sometimes. If a girl really sucks, it becomes apparent. Like, there's been times where I chose not to meet a hot girl because she sucked that much over text. I think the problem a lot of guys have is they're too easily willing to overlook the red flags. I think men, if they want to be happy, they need to start being more selective and not so eager to overlook the red flags.
Most men don't have enough options to be patient.
Exactly.
Patience is, in my mind, one of the top 3 things a guy has to do to build attraction and get respect from women. Wow. If you're impatient, you're going to be friend zone or simp zone. That's really it. It's that.
Or be known as the pushy guy.
Yeah, and nobody wants that. It's like, have you ever gone to a party or been at the gym and you see that group of guys that nobody wants to talk to? Like, they're just dicks. The guys who just sit in the corner and they jerk each other off the whole event. The gym, the party, and every guy hates them and every girl hates them too. The girl is going to go home with the guy who has conveyed high value, not necessarily through his actions, but just based on the way that he is. Like the vibe he puts off, he commands respect, he's funny but not pushy. People respect him and talk to him and like him, but he's not the class clown. He's not the guy who sits in the corner craving validation from other men or screwing around with other dudes to get attention from women. And those are the worst guys. Like I'm telling you, those guys might get women occasionally, but women do not take them seriously. Women will sleep with them because they're attractive enough. Women do not want to fuck with these guys. And the women who do are the ones you don't want to date. Right. Because those are the ones chasing the chads around the place that are just only want to talk to a super hot dude with 6-pack, 6'4". Like, if that's you, great, capitalize, but women don't respect guys like that.
Yeah, no, I know this too well. I used to be that guy that was like trying to get attention, blah, 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 would act like a douche sometimes because, again, it wasn't coming from a bad place. I just wanted attention. So I know this all too well. But I want to dive into this. What are some like practical, like I want to make this as practical as possible. What are some like red flags that you would train your clients to look for when it comes to like, picking a partner?
So how early on in the dating process? Because I think it doesn't matter.
Let's say right away. Let's say let's say for men, like let's say
inconsistent communication and saying I'm busy. It's bullshit.
Okay. All right. I agree.
Right off the bat, inconsistent communication and somebody saying, yeah, sure, I might be able to meet up on Thursday, or like Thursday night's kind of busy. I might be able to, no, disqualified on the spot. You got to be like, you don't want to be like a robot about this stuff, but you almost should be. You know, even some of my closest buddies who know what I do and they pay attention to my content, they don't pay attention enough. They think that they know, and then they come to me with all this shit that happens. I'm like, you don't pay attention.
So true. Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna preach to you as your friend. I'm gonna tell you what to do. But they'll tell me like, oh, this girl flaked on me. This girl did this. I'm like, okay, what did you send her before the date? How much did you text her before the date? I'm like, this is all your fault. You got to take extreme ownership as a man.
You're like harsher than me.
I'm super harsh because here's the thing, dude. A lot of times the way people treat you, and this is not like trying to victim blame here. A lot of times the way people treat you is what you've teed them up to treat you like.
Right. Yeah.
If you're a guy with options, a busy schedule, money, you're attractive, she's going to show up. She's going to show up. And my name, performance potential. A man bears the burden of performance in dating. Relationships, here's my opinion. I can dive into this, but it might take too long. This is going to be a hell of a Q&A. We're going forever, and I can't dive into this one ever because dating is harder for men. Relationships are harder for women. Dating is harder for men because men need to prove themselves. Men need to stand out in the sea of simps in her DM. Relationships are harder for women because most of the times women are trying to lock down the dudes with options who don't want to commit. Right. So dating in the early stages, if you F up, it's on you. If she matches with you on a dating app, for the most part, not saying all the time because there are women who just want attention and time wasters. For the most part, if a woman matches with you, has a relatively consistent communication with you, if she doesn't end up going on a date with you or you screw something up in the meantime, that's your fault. I'm not even big on like text game or dating app game. You would be much, much better to talk to about that than me. I'm being fully transparent. I'm not that big on that because I only talk to women that I know have high interest because I'm at a point now where it's not really like worth it to go out there and get like 30 leads and boil them down to 15 good ones. And then I got 9 that go on a date and then I pay for 9 dates and I sleep with 3 of them. It's not worth it to me because I'm trying to find the right girl. I don't need to do that shit where I go on 9 dates and it's like I'm dating all the time. You know what I mean? Because I'm cool with being single. Yeah. I just want to prioritize the right women.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there. I think you and I, the one thing that I've worked on is being aware that I have the luxury of being very selective, and which some guys don't. And I guess it's not like, if you don't get laid, you die. But like, it is almost like I've made the argument before that sex is a necessity, just like food. You don't die from it, but it does eat away at your soul. That's not to say you need to fuck everything. I'm just saying like you need that kind of intimacy. Like intimacy is, I think, essential for a man and for a woman. But for a man who don't get intimacy, they go down some dark places. I've seen it. Like they become, black pill. They think that women are horrible.
Yeah, dude, incels.
Someone commits suicide.
Literally incels.
Yeah. It is. So I do think that intimacy is necessary. Imagine if every single one of the incels, black pillars, had a nice girlfriend. Dude, how many of them would stay incels? Almost none of them.
Dude, I'm so glad that you said that. I'm so glad that you said that because a lot of the guys in the red pill community are in relationships and they don't talk about it because they're selling snake oil. They don't want to talk about the fact that they are married or in relationships. And I bet they are complete simps for who they're in a relationship with. And they're scared to show it. And I don't even mean being in a relationship makes you a simp. I just know that they have a soft spot in their heart for that woman. Go watch any video, interview, whatever. I mean, even Barstool Sports. I saw a video on Barstool the other day where they were, I think KFC was interviewing like a porn star. I forget her name. Total simp. He was like, she came in, the tonality of his, oh my God, the tonality of his voice went so high. I'm so excited. All this stuff. Because he's trying to impress her. But you could take this guy in close quarters. He might be red pill. He might not be. He'd be like, yeah, man, dating's hard out there. It's so hard for guys. Like women only want one thing. Put a hot woman in front of him that he's attracted to that would be submissive if that's what he wants. Guy melts. I'm telling you, there are so many fakers out there. So many fakers that think that they are so hard and this, that, whatever. I mean, I'm sure I could watch Fresh and Fit. A hot girl who agrees with them, who they like, total simps. I guarantee it. I completely guarantee it. And I'm not even saying it's a bad thing. Women have the ability when they are in their feminine energy to calm a guy down, and a lot of men crave that. There's nothing wrong with craving that. Nothing wrong with resting your head on a pair of tits at the end of the night or being a little.
Oh, I love that. It's one of my favorites.
Exactly. Guys got to stop acting like they don't fucking like it. They're just acting like so hard in the exterior. You want to know why? You know who they're trying to impress?
Pandering to their audience.
Other men.
Yeah.
Other men.
Yeah. No, that's such a good point. And yeah, that's Raul Tomasi, Donovan Sharp. I'm sure there's plenty more in relationships. And they hide it. Like maybe like Donovan completely hides it. Rollo, he acknowledges that he's married, but you never see his wife on camera. Like he never like. To me, that's kind of just okay. If the girl has a legit career for whatever reason, I can respect that, right? But like, not all these chicks have legit careers. Like, why not bring? Like, my girl has a legit career. I'm not gonna dox her job, but she has a very good career. But like, like bring your girl on camera. So they're kind of like trying. I think the reason they're not doing it's not because the girl's privacy. It's because all their names are public anyway. It's because they're like ashamed. They don't want to. One, they could be ashamed of the girl's personality or looks, which, given some of the girlfriends I've seen, is definitely possible. Yep. But two, they don't want to they want to hide the fact. They don't want the audience to constantly be aware that they're in a relationship, which is silly because you can be in a relationship and teach game, but they're doing a little differently because they're not selling the same thing I'm selling. They're selling rage, right? Which
exactly, dude, and that's exactly it. The extension to number 2 that you just said is they're selling a certain product, and the way that they live their lifestyle competes with their product. Like, women are bad, women suck, dating sucks, women take advantage of blah, blah, blah. They don't want to pop up on there. Even if I hope they're in successful relationships. I would never want these people to be in bad relationships. But if they're in a successful relationship, it flies in the face of most of the stuff that they say. So they don't want to put out there in public the way that they actually live their lives if it is a functional relationship, because the guys that pay them and view them want rage. They want dysfunction, because with constant dysfunction and a hatred of women and a distrust of women, you get more views and you get paid. Yeah. They don't want to put up 5 steps to get in a healthy relationship, because when men get out of relationships, they stop consuming their content.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So true. I mean, they're basically selling rage porn. Every client, like, dude, I've been coaching for 4 years now. A lot of my early clients, they're all in relationships now, and they're happy. That means I don't get their money anymore, but I'm okay with that. Like, let them be happy. But if they're single, I keep getting their money, right? Like, when they get a girlfriend, they usually cancel the mastermind. They're always like, hey, man, I really appreciate everything, blah, blah, blah. But I no longer need this. And that's okay, because there's new people coming in. But if you become greedy and obsessed with it, then you don't want those people being happy. You want them to stay in a constant place of need. So you can sell them like 20 products and get them to pay for your coaching all the time.
It's kind of like the pharmaceutical industry. Let's keep them sick and they'll keep buying.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels to it.
Yeah, get a rabbit hole there. It's all
pharmaceutical industry. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a very good point. How a lot of them are in relationships, even though they're like, no marriage, no marriage, never get married. But they're like married.
Yeah. It's crazy. Don't get married. Divorce will kill you. Guys married.
Yeah, it's insane. Another thing I want to touch on, this is something I think you and I might kind of disagree on, maybe not, is body count. We were kind of talking about this off camera. So my philosophy on body count has always been this. And this is something I've gotten a lot of slack for. My followers largely disagree with me on this, and that's okay. I'm not afraid to take controversial opinions. People watching, they don't have to agree with me. It's okay. You can disagree with me. We can still be friends if you disagree with me. Yeah. Well, I have friends who are like hardcore conservatives. That's okay. Whatever. You can still be friends. Just disagree on things, as long as the person's willing to have a respectful conversation with me. But anyway, so before I go on too much of a tangent, I said that I don't really care about a girl's body count unless it's outrageously high. So if she's been with 300 guys, the reason I care is not because she's fucked 300 guys, but it's because what that signals about her. That usually signals that she has low self-esteem. It is what it is, right? We all fuck 300 guys and have healthy self-esteem. The only exception is if she worked on herself later on in life. So that's always been my position. But I will usually ask a girl's body count. I do it out of a place of curiosity. I'm just genuinely curious. Like, I want to hear those fucked up bad stories. I want to hear about small dick Johnny. I want to hear about like fucking rapey Fred or whatever. I want to hear those stories. What's kind of like your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have like an intermingling of agreement and disagreement here. But I agree with you, and I agree with you on the fact that if it is at an extreme and on a high note, like, I can understand most people, like say if you meet a woman who's a virgin and just hasn't slept with anybody, it's probably for like a religious reason, or it's probably because like maybe she was, I don't want to say shamed, or maybe she was brought up in a way that's like saying that that's bad. So I might think that that's a little bit concerning because obviously sex is very important and I'm not going to wait until marriage to have
Right,
sex.
yeah,
So that's a concern. But I wouldn't shame her for that because I can understand it's could be a noble pursuit for her to not just want to go slam a bunch of guys. I can respect that. If a girl has slept with 300 guys, I would never be in a relationship with her. There's no, I don't care what any, it doesn't matter.
Let me ask you
Because
this quick question. Just what if the girl did therapy and worked on herself and no longer has that desire to fuck a lot of guys? Would you consider her at that point?
see, the unfortunate thing is, I don't think we would really get to that part of the conversation. And I'm telling you too that this it doesn't work both ways equally. But if a woman talked to a guy that was like 25 years old, which is how many women have you slept with? And he said 300, that girl would be dumbfounded. I'm telling you, she would.
No,
I
I've
mean,
had this conversation with many girls when I tell
yeah,
them my life.
they would be dumbfounded. It's almost like at that point you're like a porn star, and they're more interested in how it happened than interested in you. So it does
A little bit
work
of
both
both for me.
ways a little bit. And at that point, men and women will probably just view the opposite person in that regard as somebody who they would hook up with as long as they're clean. I just know that somebody who has slept with 300 people, if I'm aiming to get a relationship, you just told me that you have had 300 casual interactions with other men and not a one of them you've dated. Like, holy shit. There's something wrong with that equation. There's like something wrong with that.
Right.
And it just tells me that she either would never want a real relationship, wouldn't know how to function in a real relationship. And this is the biggest one. Her conception of men is so skewed because the only interactions and relationships that she's had with men has been sex, has never been loyalty and commitment. So for me, I could never date a woman on the extreme that has slept with that many guys because I just inherently think there would be too much baggage that comes in with that. Like I told you, man, I got a drama-free life, trying to keep it that way. And I could understand that somebody's worked on themselves and that's good for them. But at the end of the day, I would rather pair up with a girl that has not done that.
That's interesting. I do agree with you that it doesn't go equally both ways. It just is what it is.
Same with it's the same with finances. There's a lot of double standards in dating. Men are expected to pay, and to a degree, men expect women to not have slept with 100 plus, 300 plus dudes. Yeah. It's a double standard. I'm not saying it's logically right, but it's just the way that it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, like I fucked like I don't know, like hundreds of girls, right? Like I don't think it's fair that I get to do something the girl doesn't. But it is true. There is that double standard. I think I might not be so. I guess for me, like let's say I do meet a girl who's fucked 200 guys. I would obviously want to know why she's fucked 200 guys. I don't care if it comes to hooking up, right? Obviously, but if it's getting to the point where I really like her and I'm thinking about dating her, but I do think
you know what would scare people if they broke down the math on that.
It's
I'm serious. I'm serious. For the guys out there who are on the fence on whether it matters or not, if you really broke down the math on that, if she's a 26-year-old girl who slept with well over 100 guys, do the math on that. It's frightening. It's truly scary because you have to break it down. Like you break it down by she's probably only been sleeping with people for 10 months. I mean, sorry, not 10 months, 10 years. So you break it down by months. It's like, holy crap, this girl's been consistently sleeping with that many guys in one time period. What that tells me is her orientation in relation to men is transactional, and she's constantly being validated by multiple guys at once. I don't want to deal with that crap, dude. I do not want to deal with that. It's too much stress.
Yeah, not for relationships. For hookups, it's fine. But yeah, dude, I remember one time I hooked up with this chick. She was 21 years old. She told me her body count was like 300 or 400. And like, I was like, when did you lose your virginity? She was like, oh, when I was 17. Wow, that's a lot of dicks in 4 years. Dude, I remember like after we hooked up, her phone just kept going off. Like, who keeps calling you? Like, oh, just someone I know. And it's like, hey, babe, when are you going to like, the guys are just blowing up her phone. Like, well, she's with me.
But I'm sorry. That's like, there's a psychological, that's a problem, man. You got a problem. You got an addiction. There's something wrong.
Sure. Again, like I feel almost hypocritical judging a girl for literally what I used to do for a good portion of my life. Still do to some extent. I do think that, like, let's say a girl has super high body count. It wouldn't automatically rule her out, but I would be way more cautious with that girl. Like, and she would be starting at like a disadvantage with me when it comes to relationships. And I would have to, she would have to do really a lot more to like earn my trust. And I would be like, so yeah, there would be that baggage that just goes just because of that. Um, it is what it is. I think I'm probably way more lenient than most guys in terms of that number. Like for some
Yeah.
guys, like 5 is too much, right? Like 10 is too much. Like I don't know, but to me, that's like, oh yeah, that's nothing. Like 10, 20.
Did you watch the video I did about body count the other day?
I watched it today.
The guys were so salty in the comments. Some
I
guys are
didn't,
out here. Some guys are out here expecting the woman that they're going to be with to be virgins. Like,
yeah, that's crazy.
be realistic, dude. There's this stupid ass comment I keep seeing in comment sections. It's like, no hymen, no diamond or something. It's the most sickening shit I've ever heard. It's like, if she's not a virgin when I meet her, she's not getting a ring. It's like, okay, bro, what are you bringing to the table? Literally, what are you doing to be able to call the shots on the king of the virgins? Like, who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? Like, the guy who leaves that comment is probably either a 17-year-old who has never like even finished high school, or a guy who's 50 years old who has this antiquated view of humanity, and he's probably a total jerk. Who does that guy think he is? Does he think he's got like options with 300 women and he's just gonna pick and choose virgins out of this group of women? Who the hell are you? Come on, dude. Like,
yeah, to kind of reference our favorite podcast, Fresh and Fit. That's another trap they're in, because they constantly talk about, oh, you want a girl who's pure, you don't want a girl with a high body count. Men are repulsed by girls who are sexually promiscuous, right? But then at the same time, they teach, oh, if a girl doesn't fuck you, she doesn't respect you. Like you know, like, exactly. And it's like, oh, you can have the girl who's promiscuous, or you can have the girl who's, you know, a virgin, but you can't have both in one package. Like, basically what they want is the girl who's said no to every other guy but then on the first date she fucks you.
Yeah. Because it makes him feel special. Like, oh, I was that guy. Like, oh, I was the guy who converted her.
Done all her life. Yeah, it's insane. Like, you can have that conservative girl. They exist, but you are going to have to go on multiple dates with her before you sleep with her.
Yeah.
She's not gonna fuck. And if you are pushing for sex hard on the first date, and what they say is like, if a girl doesn't sleep with you, call another girl in front of her. If you do that to a conservative girl, she's out. She is not going to stick around by that. So it's like the girls that you want, you're screening out completely. So then you're getting the girls that you don't want or repulsed by. It's so crazy to me, this shit.
The turmoil sells, unfortunately.
Yeah. Before we jump into the Q&A, and we've gone for 2 hours, so I don't want to like keep you too long. But before we jump into the Q&A, was there? I think we were talking before. Was there any other topic that you want to bring up that you think would be interesting or valuable?
I think I don't know. I'll give like a number one piece of advice to men, and the number one piece of advice to men is, if you're a younger guy, because I'm sure a lot of younger guys watch this, number one thing is, and this is not the actual number one piece of advice, but something to keep in mind, is you have a lot of time. You need to stop like rushing or thinking that the girl that you're talking to right now, if it doesn't work, that your life is going to end. And I'll give you a very good example why. If I think about myself when I was, 21, 22 versus what I can actually offer now and how I feel now about myself as an adult, oh my God, I would blow my 22-year-old self out of the water. And here's something to keep in mind. Women who are your age at 22, 23 are talking to dudes my age. So the thing is, you have to be patient in life to become like a more marketable version of yourself, to be able to get the kind of women that you want. And you have to be patient even when you think that you have found the girl that you want to be with, because her attraction for you is going to be initial, but it will grow over time. And if you are impatient, or you come on way too strong too soon, this girl is going to make you an option. So if you have the ability to be as patient or more patient than the woman that you're talking to, she's the one bringing up relationships. You're not the one bringing up relationships. So again, be patient and build yourself up to be the man that women actually want to be, instead of trying to hard sell shit on women that they don't want, like you're not a finished product. But then when you get there and when you start finding the women that you like, still be patient. And then when the time is right and she has invested, and you can invest, and you kind of go with that. Because when you go in too soon, women don't respect you. And women don't respect you. They make you wait a really long time to hook up. They make you wait a really long time to get into a relationship. And they assume that you are going to do all the work. So you have to be more fucking patient. That is like my number one piece of advice that I can give to men. Because guess what? If it doesn't work out with her, it will work out with somebody else. So calm the fuck down. Like, that is my advice for men.
Dude, 100% agreed. Yeah, guys like a girl doesn't text them back, they treat you like Armageddon. Ah!
Didn't answer for 2 hours. Dude, I don't have time to text people back in 2 hours. You and I have been on this video thing for almost 2 hours. Like, you think I had time to text somebody back? Who
Yeah.
cares?
I think a lot of guys would really benefit from having like hobbies and passions outside of pickup. Like things that their purpose that doesn't involve getting laid. That will actually indirectly help you get laid.
100%.
It's interesting. But yeah, I definitely agree with that. All right, let's take a few questions. We won't take too many because we're just going for so long. But what's the greatest woman dating coach in your opinion?
That's a really good question. I don't want to pick the cliche answer here and say Courtney, because Courtney's,
you can get multiple.
Yeah, I think Courtney is kind of like a lifestyle coach. I know she will respond to a lot of dating coaches. So I think she's definitely one of the female influencers that I follow in the dating space. I know that you had Marnie on the other day, and I liked what she had to say. I thought she was really good.
Yeah, she's cool.
I'm trying to think what other women.
I like Kezia a lot. Kezia Noble.
I haven't really seen a lot of her stuff.
Yeah, she's been on the podcast twice, and I've gone on her channel.
And then a woman, and she's more of a relationship coach. A woman that is like a super professional. A lot of people have had on is Esther Perel. A lot of people like in the highest up version of like self-improvement relationships as well. Esther Perel has been like a perennial. Like,
I'm not familiar with her. That's interesting.
Yeah, she's like a psychologist and stuff. She's legit. She's a therapist, I believe.
Okay.
Esther Perel is good, and she's been on a lot of big time podcasts.
I'll definitely look into her. Let me quickly address this. How does bashing the red pill guys have? Okay, nothing we've done so far has been bashing. Well, maybe a tiny amount, but this is not bashing. It's not primarily bashing. This is the problem. A lot of people, when you criticize their idol, they feel personally attacked. That's why you have the whole incident with the Fresh and Fit Stan guy who like literally simped for Fresh and Fit and started DMing nasty things to this girl. And like, dude, like you're literally simping for, two dudes. That's even worse than simping for a girl. I at least rather simp for a girl than a bunch of dudes.
So I can answer this question though.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So here's the thing. We're not bashing red pill. I believe in a lot of red pill ideologies. And I think understanding a lot of the concepts within red pill will help you become that patient guy that women respect, focus on self-improvement, not women. I agree with a lot of things about red pill. There are some motivations within red pill in that community in general that I don't agree with. And a lot of it is just kind of rooted in being angry and being upset and blaming other people. I take extreme accountability for my life. In the early parts of dating, if things go downhill with a woman, it has almost always been my fault because I lack patience. I did something stupid. I got drunk and sent stupid texts, like you said. I've screwed up. We all screw up. I don't really bash red pill as a community because there's people within the red pill community that, I'll listen to, like the Roommates podcast, a big fan of Hafiz and Chris, and what I mean? Like I like their stuff. It's not even really bashing red pill. It's just challenging some of the ideals. And if you're not cool with us challenging those ideals, then you have to look at your own confirmation bias. It's like if you were somebody who was a Republican or a Democrat who couldn't look internally and say that there's something wrong with the Democratic Party or there's something wrong with the Republican Party. You need to take things on a more issue by issue basis. And then the other thing is that bashing certain parts of red pill and having you understand that that's not the only way to live your life is going to free you from being a slave to their ideologies. It's that simple. Yeah. We're giving you a few years back to prevent the red pill rage that almost always ensues. And I've had multiple guys in their earliest 20s, like 21, 22, who said, how do I get over red pill rage? And they're 21. You shouldn't be watching this shit when you're like 17.
A lot of them get bitter. A lot of them get resentful. They start to dislike women. Yeah. And when they develop that, like they're going to, you get confirmation bias because the only kind of girls you're going to attract when you're that bitter are going to be bad girls. And the good girls, the ones who have healthy self-esteem, they're going to get turned off by that. They don't want that guy who's bitter and angry and resentful. So it just becomes a vicious cycle. I'll criticize bad ideas all day, every day. Like I'll criticize bad ideas in every community. I don't care what community it is. So yeah, I think you have to be able to criticize bad ideas. I think it's very telling that a lot of the red pill guys, they're just so afraid to debate. And again, I agree with like the Roommates podcast, great stuff. So it's not to say against the ideology, but a lot of the prominent content creators said they're afraid to debate because they're not really confident about their ideas. They're worried. I'm not afraid to debate anybody. I'll debate anyone all day, every day because I'm confident about my ideas. So I think that's telling of itself. Is it different for people in big cities compared to towns, like the norms of body count? It's an interesting question.
Yep.
What's your take on that?
100%. It is. You just got more opportunities in a bigger city. It's that simple. My straight answer is just yes.
Yeah. What is this person? Do you think Evan criticizing women and men has made him uncancelable? It's an interesting question.
I'll let you answer that one.
No, I don't think anyone's uncancelable. I think it maybe hedges your bet a little bit, but I think the best thing, if you want to be uncancelable, get like skin transformation surgery and become like a minority. That's like the best way to become uncancelable. It is what it is.
I will say there is an unfair double standard that women can call out women and women can call out men. Men can call out men. Men cannot call out women. It's that simple. And I've been on the winning end of it, the losing end of it. I've stitched male creators, female creators. I've called out women for being toxic. I've called out men for being terrible. I've never gotten a video taken down for scrutinizing men. I've gotten multiple videos taken down for scrutinizing women. So yes, it is unfair, but I mean, I'm not uncancelable.
Yeah, no one is. Well, you know what I think is crazy? I'm not going to mention any names, but I've had with the whole fresh and fit thing, I've reached out, there's some of the people who've been vocal about it. I invited them to come on my podcast because they had some interesting takes, right? And I wanted to have them, and some of them have been black, right? My thought process wasn't even like, oh, this person's black, let me have him on. It's like I like this person's content. I didn't even like think that, oh, because he's black, I should have him on. And they were respectful. They're like, hey man, I can't discuss the situation with you because you're white. And I'm like, but it's not a racial issue. It's like my criticism of Fresh and Fit has nothing to do with the color of their skin.
Yeah.
So I always found that like crazy, like how just like, I don't know, this like tribalism almost that exists.
There is. And it's also like the women that they interview are black, Latina, white girls. I mean, it's not like, you see Asian girls on there. It's not like they're only dating a certain, race of women. Like the things that we talk about have parallels when white people, black people, whatever. It's not just mutually exclusive to black people or white people.
Yeah.
I don't even see why that's an issue right now.
I quickly address this. Hey, Alex, John from MLD. Our favorite fucking human being said you literally ran away from confrontation with Myron in person. Is that true? All right. So the whole thing is actually on video. So part of the video is already out. What happened was I was in set. I'm walking down the street. Myron starts yelling. I don't even know it's him because I'm just talking to this girl. And he's like, yo, man, don't talk about our podcast, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, like, no. Like, it's all on video, literally. And then I keep going with my girl because I'm not going to drop a girl while filming infield where I have a good reaction to get into an argument with another dude. Like, why would I do that? I'd rather, after that, I came back and I talked to him for 20 minutes in the middle of the street, right? So, but I'm not going to drop an interaction with a hot female to talk to a dude who wants to argue with me. But we like talked for like 20 minutes. I mean, it was just basically like we weren't like, I don't know. It wasn't.
But
like
dude, why is all this such a big deal? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are people taking this so seriously that you have spoken criticisms about another creator? Are we that soft?
It's I
wondered that too. Who cares? Why does this even matter?
It's like almost human nature. Like, why do Christians fight against the Protestants when they believe 95% of the same shit? But they go to war and they kill each other over it. They largely agree with Jesus Christ, blah, blah, blah. It's all agreement. They just disagree on small things. Why do the Sunni and the Shiites kill each other in mass amounts? They both believe in Islam. They have way more in common than with Christians. So it's just like this weird tribalism like that, that just exists. And dudes are just like so stuck on their team. That's why I always teach my guys, don't be Team Alex. Just be objective. Look, if you disagree with some of the stuff I say, that's okay. Be a person who just picks and chooses and takes stuff. Like, don't look at content creators as gods or role model. A role model is okay, but not as gods, where like you have to like worship us. Like, again, like if you guys knew half the stuff that behind the scenes that a lot of content creators do, you'd be like, okay, I'm not going to worship this person anymore. That's why I think the exposed videos are almost good in a way, because if someone's being a major hypocrite, then it's good for their audience to know that. Because they've put this person up so high and they think this person can do no wrong. And then they see that person's a major hypocrite. That's good. You want people to be exposed. Okay, let me see. Take a few more interesting questions. This is an interesting one. Do you think freshman fitters hurt male dating advice by being so dogmatic? Some of their female detractors, like Guste, also give bad advice, like men should tell women they want to also give bad advice. What's your take on that?
I mean, I don't have a problem explicitly with like Fresh and Fit or Kevin Samuels. Like I've consumed their content before, and again, there's a bunch of stuff that I agree with and a bunch of stuff that I disagree with. I think it's all information. Take in what information you want, process it as your own, and accept whatever you want into your life as a truth. Like it's not my business to say this person has damaged the community or damaged the world. Like it, whoever watches it and consumes it, it's their job to accept that as a truth, a lie, reality, not reality. So I don't think Fresh and Fit is hurt male dating advice. I don't think that. I think that it's could create some division or like divisiveness between men and women, or a representation of how men and women should get along. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to really say like this is terrible, this is not terrible. I've watched the podcast. I can understand a lot of the stuff that Myron says. Like there's some stuff that he says is totally true. A lot of
Yeah,
double standards that he exposes, and I'm cool with that. But
yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't say that they've
No, I
ruined.
pretty much agree with what you said. Yeah, I agree with like probably 50% of the stuff they say, like half. I agree with,
Yeah.
and I call out the stuff that I think is wrong, and it's simple as that. I don't think they should be canceled. I think they should have a voice. That's okay. I just think followers need to be more objective and like again, not get so attached to these people who you don't know, who you know nothing about, who are presenting an image for you. And yeah, especially because there's no fact checking. Like I can go and say, yo, guys, I had like 3 threesomes this weekend. How are you going to fact check me on that? You have no way. So you're just taking my word for it.
And
Um,
also, is that the ultimate goal for men that are watching? A
for
lot of
for
men that
some
are
men, yeah,
a lot of men that are watching, yes, they do want to sleep with multiple women. Most men want to have the ability to sleep with multiple women, but I'm telling you, when one of those girls doesn't commit to that guy, he'll be in such a tornado of BS in his head. He'll be so rattled because a lot of men want to do whatever they want with women, but want those women to still be loyal to them. So a lot of these guys who want to like learn, pick up, and all this shit, they can't handle the opposite of that. They can handle sleeping with multiple women, but they can't handle when a woman won't commit to them because it's a control thing. So a lot of these guys who watch this, who want to go out and sleep with a lot of women, if they're looking for a real relationship, it's not necessarily going to get these guys what they want. Now, if you're not looking for a relationship, good on you, do what you want. But a lot of these guys, I think, are looking for a relationship and acting like they're not. Like, Alpha Male Strategy says it. I've watched a bunch of AMS's videos. He says it all the time. He's literally like, a lot of the dudes who follow me are purple pill. A lot of those dudes want a relationship, but they need to learn game and want to learn game first. He's like, most of the guys that contact me, 70-80% of them want a relationship.
let me kind of follow up on this. Do you agree with that? Do you think a guy should learn game first if he wants a relationship?
Gives them more options. So yes.
Yeah, I would agree
But
with that.
but here's the thing, not lying and being straight up. That's the caveat. You can run game, you can talk to multiple women, that's fine, but don't lie. Don't lie to women. It's not like you have to come out and say, I'm talking to 4 women at once. If she asks if you want a relationship or if you're exclusive, you have to tell the truth.
Yeah, I think lying is not an essential component of game at all. I think you can have amazing game without lying. So I disagree with this premise that some people have that game is manipulation. You have to lie in order to get the best results. I disagree with that. Do you see marriage in your future? And if not, why are you mad at why? Well, none of us are mad at women, but I guess I'll let you go first.
Who's he talking to?
I don't know, either me or you. I don't know, both of us. My dog. I don't know.
So I think David asked the question earlier about our thoughts on the red pill community and why we were bashing them. I think part of the reason why we were bashing some of the red pill community was because they're the ones that are mad at women. I love women, dude. I respect the hell out of
Yeah,
women.
me
I
too.
coach a lot of women. I'm not mad at women. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to help guys understand how to get over red pill rage and not be mad at women and get into relationships.
Same.
In terms of the marriage thing, yeah, I agree that marriage has some legal implications that could be problematic. Bottom line is, whatever I want to have children, so whatever woman I choose to have children with, I will be with her for the duration of my life if that is what it pans out to be. So sure.
Yeah, I'm like 50-50. I'm not.
It's up to you. Everybody's different, man.
Yeah. I don't have a goal of getting married and having children, but I'm not ruling out either. I know there's some people who are like, I never want to get married. I'm not in that category. I'm I'm open to it if it happens if I really like the girl. I'm not crossing that option out, but I'm not actively pursuing it. Like I'm actively pursuing, becoming a multimillionaire, blowing up, playing with fire. I'm actively pursuing fitness. I'm not actively pursuing marriage, but I'm not opposed to it either. That would be kind of my answer. But yeah, if I do get married, there would have to be a prenup, and I would have to vet the girl super duper carefully. Let's take this question. Evan, what's the appeal of fuckboy whine women? What's the appeal of fuckboy, I guess is the question.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question, Nev. Thank you. So I think with this one, the appeal with the F-boy is, like I told you, when I coach these women who have the multiple options with men, and they're thinking about which one to pick, the F-boy is the one that has the most real estate in her mind because he's the guy who doesn't do what she wants. And inherently, she's kind of the most attracted to him because the F-boy exhibits and exudes the most confidence usually in the ability to command respect and not take shit. So I think a lot of times the F-boy, he can win in the end if he actually wants to commit or makes the decision that he wants to be in a relationship, if that's what he wants. Because after a while, most women will get there. Like, it's kind of a self-esteem thing too, right? Unfortunately, like women who don't have high enough self-esteem will continue to stay in a situationship with a man who treats her poorly, unfortunately, in hopes that he will change. But I think the appeal is that he is not as easy as other men, right? Women are used to having easy success with men. They're not used to a guy that's not giving them what they want. So they feel like it's a little bit of work.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I don't really have anything to add to that. How do you reengage after you send an uncalibrated sext that was left unread? No dick pics or anything. Well, first of all, we would need to know the context. Are you hooking up with this girl? I'm assuming they're not hooking up, because in which case probably wouldn't be a problem. What would be your take on that?
Well, me personally, I would let it ride. I wouldn't do anything about it. And I would give it a couple days to see if she ever answers. If I really, really, really wanted to continue to talk to this girl and for some reason I had that scarcity mindset, like I couldn't talk to other women, I would give it 5 days probably. And then I would follow up and be like, hey, like didn't mean for you to, like, hope you didn't take that the wrong way. Still am interested in you. Definitely want to get together sometime. Like, let me know if you're cool with that. I would I don't want to say blow it off, but I would minimally address it. And I would bring it up a little bit. I would see if she wanted to get back together. But to be very straight up with you, if you got options and this girl blows you off after you send a risky text, like her interest was not that high to begin with, so you're probably better off just moving on.
Yeah, I would probably I would give it a few days, but then I'll follow up with humor. I would say something like, "Whoops, my grandpa sent that."
I like that.
I would use humor. Yeah,
I like that. Your answer is better than mine. I like your answer.
Kind of going back to my earlier thing about like always, using humor as a crutch. But in this case,
you do a combination. You'd be like, "Oh, I hope you didn't take that the wrong way. My grandpa didn't mean to send that." But
yeah, exactly. Jordan Peterson said PUAs are psychopaths, so he probably would not be on board. I think he was looking at. I don't think Jordan Peterson is very knowledgeable in the pickup community. I think he was looking at like what he sees in the media. He wasn't like really deep diving into the community. I'm not even going to hold it against him. I like Jordan Peterson a lot.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
So I don't take that as like a slight. I just think he wasn't like really deep diving into the community.
I'll briefly expand on that one though. The reason why Jordan Peterson says needless sex leads to like psychopathy or like sociopathy is because, like I said earlier, you're treating another human as kind of just like a human fleshlight. It's like excessive porn. You just get desensitized to it after a while and you're just sleeping with people and sleeping with people and sleeping with people. And you're almost treating it as a means to an end, especially if you're not being straight up with other people about that. Like truly, this might be, you might differ in opinions with me on this, but if you just had sex for 20 straight years and you never formed an attachment, like an intimate attachment with any of the people that you were sleeping with, I think that is a little bit of psychopathy because we are biologically meant to bond with the people that we are sleeping with. Might not be forever, sure, but it's for a certain duration because that's what's in the best interest of the child. And people biologically have sex to have a kid. So just because you're not having a kid doesn't mean your brain does not think that you're having a kid. So it's totally taking out the attachment and the bonding after sex, I think is problematic. That's just my opinion. That's what I've experienced.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that someone's been, sleeping, whatever, for having sex for 20 years, they haven't formed an attachment. Something is up. That's not like normal at all. Um, in terms of complete taking sex and separating from attachment, I probably don't see it as problematic as you do. I think it's okay for a period of time, and I think it can be almost good if that's what you want. Like for example, when I was younger, I had my MILF face. Like I wanted to bang a bunch of hot older chicks with big titties, right? Got that done, got it out of the way. No longer do I want to fuck, MILFs, right? So I do think it can be good to kind of get it out of your system or at least experience it, just like casual sex or whatever. We got our first female question. Any tips to get attention from a high value, at least I hope it's a girl, high value guy, successful use to female attention, etc. What
Yeah.
would be your take on that?
It really goes back to the polarity thing. You can't be bringing the same things to the table that a high value guy is. It's really that simple and straight up. If you're talking about a guy who's, a lawyer, a doctor, a sales guy, real estate, whatever you mean, like he's successful in business, he's a high value guy, he's attractive, he has options. You have to find a way to differentiate from the women that he's dated in the past. So that's going to be through your attractiveness, your intelligence, your femininity. There's just a lot that goes into that. And here's the thing, ladies, it's an unpopular opinion that I have for you. You have to put in some effort. A lot of women teach other women that you shouldn't do anything. And think about it from a guy's perspective. If every girl he dates is not doing anything and he's putting in all the effort and all the work, the woman who is willing to just like unashamedly be herself and treat the guy like she wants to treat him and not play games and do all this stuff, if he is attracted to you, he will want to be with you. The women that are out there that refuse to do anything for a man, like you've probably seen the no husband treatment and the talking phase. Like, I get that. You don't need to make the guy a 6-course meal. But if you're somebody who likes to take care of people and you're somebody who likes to cook and do small things and maybe get the guy a small gift every once in a while, other women are not doing that. They refuse. Other women will not, because they're scared that when they put themselves out there, they'll get rejected. And women fear rejection more than men because men are used to getting rejected. So if you're a woman who has the ability to put in a little bit more effort, here's the caveat: if he is very attracted to you, because he has to be very attracted to you, if you're willing to put in the effort and differentiate yourself from other women, then you can get that guy. But if you don't, and you play the I don't care, I'm going to be cold and not caring game, you are literally a number and option to that man.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. To kind of expand, because the question is about getting getting the attention. A lot of guys have really bad awareness. They can't pick up the fact the girl's interested in them. That guy that you like might actually be into you. He might not be, but he might actually be into you. But he doesn't know that you like him back. I've seen this case time and time again. So I see absolutely nothing wrong with you as a girl going up to the guy. And again, you don't have to be like, "I love you, I've been watching you," but you can just be like, "Hey, I want to introduce myself. My name is, Daisy. What's your name? Oh, cool. Yeah, do you want to grab a drink sometime?" There's nothing wrong with you doing that, and most men will actually appreciate that. Just show your interest and see how he responds. He's either going to be interested or you're not, or he's not. There's nothing you can really do that, like, if he's not interested, there's nothing you're going to do, like wearing a special skirt or like making that joke that's going to make him interested. He's either interested or he's not. The first thing is he's either physically attracted to you or he's not. And if he's not, you're not going to convince him. So I would just show your interest and show your cards and see what happens. And then if he's not interested, then you move on. Like, at least find out.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to like do all this shit to get the guy to like notice you. You can literally just be direct about it. That'll be like almost like, let's say I'm trying to get you to collaborate with me. Like, how silly would it be if I was like, okay, how can I get Evan to notice me? I'm gonna make a video that's solely same topic as him and hope, like, no, I'm just gonna hit you up. Yo, man, you want to collab? You're interested or not? But I would say it's not a perfect analogy, but it kind of works. We got Courtney Ron in the house. What up, Courtney?
Courtney. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. Guys, what are some Courtney, watch out for the video I'm releasing on Thursday. I think you're going to get a good kick out of this one. Guys, what are some common mistakes men make on first dates and how we choose the type of date it should be, like adventure, romantic, dinner, etc.?
It's a really good question.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are a couple pieces here. And now, okay, the biggest thing that men are usually worried about in a first date dynamic is, when am I going to make the move? Am I going to make the move? How do I make this not be awkward? All this other shit. So I'll give like 2 pieces of advice in terms of the conversation and the communication in sales and in just intercommunication. The person who asks the most questions controls the conversation,
Yeah.
but it also makes the other person feel more heard. And women love to talk. So this is great. Ask her open-ended questions. So for instance, if she's I don't know, she's a hygienist or something, and you could be like, oh, it's really cool that I know you're a hygienist, but like, why do you do that? You know what I mean? Like there's a million jobs in the world. Why are you a hygienist? And then she'll tell you this, that, whatever. And it'll be like, that's cool. Like, does anybody in your family do that? Like, why were you interested in pursuing that in school though? Like, I'm curious. She's going to tell you so much about her life. Like a lot of people, when they've picked their jobs, have an elaborate story on how they got into this. And the more she's talking, the more comfortable you are because it's not awkward. And the more comfortable she is because she feels heard and understood. So ask open-ended questions. And when somebody gives you like a yes or no answer, well, don't ask questions that would denote a yes or no answer. Don't ask surface level questions. The second thing is, mistake on the first date is if you want to escalate to touching, kissing, hooking it up, whatever, you need to not wait till the last 30 seconds of the date to try to make that happen. Yeah. Such a bad mistake. So what I do, I've got kind of a recipe for a first date. My first dates are always at a wine bar. I like wine. I think wine is relatively classy. It's not super expensive. It's not super cheap. Women love wine. Wine makes women horny. I think it's a science. It's a science. It's true. Try it out. Go to a wine bar. It's not super expensive. If you like it, split a bottle of wine. It's like 2.5 glasses a piece. And if you're having a good time, offer to go to a second spot that's close by. So pick the way that the date is going to logistically work out. When you're leaving the place or while you're at the place, you need to initiate some kind of physical contact, whether it's your hand on her leg, you touching your arm during conversation. And usually what I will do is if the date's going well, in between the first and the second place that we're going to go to, I go in for a kiss. Before we're walking to our cars or my car, I will literally turn her around and I will try to kiss her if there's the touch barrier has been broken or I feel like it's going the right direction. Mm-hmm. Now, if she's not about that, is what it is. I shot my shot. I don't think it's never not worked because I'm not going to do it if I don't think it's going to work. And then the best part is we're now going to the second place after breaking the touch barrier and getting some kind of physical interaction down. Now we'll have another drink at the second place. And, you know, if I feel like it's going that direction, she's comfortable, I'm going to try to make something else happen. So I would say the first part is a communication, ask the right questions. The second part is do not wait till the end of the date to try to kiss her. Like you have to try like a little bit of physical escalation before it gets there.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. A few things I want to add on is one, don't try to woo the girl. I think a lot of guys make the mistake of like, and also keep things simple. A lot of guys get fancy, like I'm gonna do this and take her there and do that.
I'm gonna convince her.
Yeah, you should be wooing the girl with your game and your personality, not with the activity or the money. And always keep things as simple as possible. The only kind of date I will do is drinks. I'm gonna meet her or a walk. Like let's say she doesn't drink, I'll go for a walk with her. But it's gonna be I think a lot of guys also make the mistake of like not planning logistics properly. Like, yeah, I'll drive an hour and go bar near her. Oh, the day's going great, but I can't pull to her place because she has like 5 roommates, right? You should all know this stuff. Like, I will only go to dates that are near my place, right? I'll meet her at a bar nearby. And usually I used to do this all the time too. I'll bounce her to a second bar and then back to my place. Keep things very simple. It doesn't mean you have to go to a dive bar. You can go to a nice bar, but don't add unnecessary complexity to the date. I don't like food simply because when people eat, they get full and they get sleepy. It's just biological. That's not to say like, dude, if I'm dating a girl, I'll happily go out to eat with her. Like I'll save the adventures for when you're actually with a girl after sex has happened. A lot of guys like adventures. Great. I like adventures too. Me and Natty do them all the time. Well, not all the time, but we do them sometimes. Save that for after you're like with a girl, after sex has happened, after she's your booty call, friends with benefits or girlfriend or whatever. I think guys, they usually get too fancy and they want to fucking themselves over. And really, logistics are key. Like logistics are so important. If a girl really, really likes you, logistics won't matter. But if the girl's kind of on the fence, logistics can make the difference between you hooking up with a girl and you not hooking up. Another thing that's important is I want to point out is anti-slut defense. ASD. So what can happen is, let's say you go on a date with a girl, you feel like it's going great, you guys make out, maybe get to second base, you're like, fuck, me and this girl are perfect, whatever, it's awesome. And then she stops texting you back. You're like, what the fuck? I get clients like this all the time, quite often. What quite often happens is anti-slut defense. because you came close to sex, but sex didn't happen, the girl now feels that if we hang out again, there's expectation of sex. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And you get the I'm not that kind of girl text. Girls Chase has a very interesting article on this that they deep dive into the psychology of anti-slut defense, which is fascinating. So either have sex or don't get to the point of sex. But I don't like to get like you get into the trouble zone when you get to like second and third base, but sex doesn't happen unless you're a teenager, in which case it doesn't matter because that's the norm. So yeah, that's kind of another thing. That's why logistics are important, because if you're at your place versus in public, that could mean the difference between you sleeping with a girl and just second base or whatever.
True.
It's kind of my Academy Award winning speech. Let's take one last question. How do I set healthy boundaries with a girl who I'm hooking up with if she hasn't brought up the relationship talk, but is obviously heading down the relationship route?
Let's see. I'm just rereading this one again.
Yeah, go ahead.
I need to know his motive. I don't know if he's the one looking for a relationship, if she is, but he hasn't confirmed this yet. How do I set healthy boundaries with a girl who I'm hooking up with if she hasn't brought up the relationship talk, but is obviously heading down the relationship route? Well, listen, man, if you want a relationship, just keep status quo. If it's going that direction, let it get that direction. There's no need to micromanage or label it at this moment, unless you've been dating for 6 months or something. But I really wouldn't. It sounds like you're doing things right. I wouldn't really worry about that. Do you see something here that I don't?
Well, I think they're two separate questions, honestly. I'll address the healthy boundaries because that's something that I've talked about a lot. There's multiple ways to kind of express your boundaries, but I think the best one is just carrying yourself like that person. So, for example, let's say one of your boundaries is that I don't know, like you don't like people who are late. Don't be super late, right? Like, so just kind of like acting like that person. Another thing I will do sometimes is I'll tell a story. So I'll tell, like, for example, let's say one of my big, well, actually, this is true. One of my big boundaries is flaking. I don't like flakes. It's a big turn off. Like my girl, like she's almost like too paranoid sometimes. She's like, oh, I'm like, you're good. You can reschedule if we need to. But I don't like flaking, especially when I'm getting to know the girl. So I will tell a story. I'll be like, yeah, I went on a date, like, again, when it's relevant, not just randomly. Went on a date with this girl, but she was cool, but she was flaky, and that's like a big turn off. So I use an example to show my boundary, right? I don't tell her directly, hey, don't flake on me, because that'll be a little aggressive. I indirectly communicate that. And the third thing is when your boundary is broken, express that. A lot of people really don't understand how to express their boundaries. They think that expressing your boundaries means getting confrontational. Yo, dude, what the fuck? Or yo, girl. You can express your boundary like a normal human being. Like if someone crosses my boundary, my first reaction is like, hey, listen, so I want to talk about this. You did this, guy or girl, doesn't matter. You did this. I really didn't like that. So please don't do that again because I really didn't like that for this reason. That's how you get people to respect your boundaries. If they do it again, after that, that's the wrong person. When it comes to
and they respect you too. They respect you and know that you're not a pushover. They know that it's like, hey, listen, if I'm going out with Alex or if I'm going out with Evan, like if you're late, I'm going to check you a little bit. Be like, hey, listen, I know you're 15, 20 minutes late. Like both of our time is valuable. Like next time I would really appreciate it if you showed up on time. That sound good? Like stern, but to be fair, like don't be late. Like I show up on time. Like I'm busy, you're busy. Like I understand. Well, you got to give me a heads up, and next time, please be on time so we could spend the most time together that we can.
Yeah. So I think we kind of answered that. Let's take this last one because I thought it was funny. How do you talk a girl into giving you head? Try paying, but says it won't work. Like, are we talking? Well, if you pay a prostitute money, then she should suck your dick. What kind of prostitute is like? Oh, sorry, I won't take. I'm confused about the try paying part because prostitutes you pay for sex, and any girl who accepts money is a prostitute. So, okay, let's just forget about the second sentence. Let's just address the first one. How do you talk a girl in? Well, it sounds like he has a girl in the picture right next to him too. So I'm assuming that's the girl who won't give him head. It depends on whether it's a first date or you're with a girl in a relationship. So if there's some girls have rules, they don't really suck dick unless they're like with a guy, right? Some girls have those rules. And they may love blowjobs, but they just don't want to do it on a stranger or whatever. I don't think there's too much you can do besides building massive attraction. If you're in a relationship, and she, me personally, I've actually never been that into blowjobs. I prefer sex, honestly. So I've never really this has never been a thing for me. But if there's something sexually that I want, I would tell my partner, I would tell the girl. And if she can't give it to me, then relationship wouldn't work, honestly. So, yeah, I think, some chicks really love to suck dick. Some chicks really hate it. And a lot of chicks are in the middle. They like to suck dick for the right guy. So I'm assuming your girl's probably in the second, third category, but she's in the first category, and that's something that you really need, then that relationship won't work.
True.
I
Yeah.
think
I think it's just, like you said, it's about communication and also being mutually beneficial. Like, instead of bringing up like, hey, I noticed that you never did this, and like, I'm really into this. You could say like, let's talk about like what we're into. You know what I mean? You can bring it up that way, and you could tell her like, hey, like, this is something I'm into. Not saying like, I know you don't do this, but you bring that up. And the next time you two hook up, if she still doesn't do it, then you can be like, then that's when you can say, hey, listen, I know we talk about what we're into. Do you really just like not like giving head? Like, it is what it is. Like, you're going to have to say it eventually if you want her to do it, and she just doesn't do it.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, this has been an epic live. Dude, Evan, thank you so much for coming on, man. I think this is a great discussion. Usually it's funny because usually I do like half and half, or sometimes it's like 60% Q&A, but you and I just fucking talked for 2 hours straight. And
yeah, man.
As far as I'm concerned, we could have talked for another 2 hours straight. I had to purposely
so
cut the
topics.
conversation short. Yeah, so many topics. Interesting. It's like a nice YouTube TikTok crossover. But yeah, man, hopefully you start a YouTube channel. We can, I think this will be like a nice little boost if you ever do.
Yeah, man. I've been doing some shorts, and I think shorts will help categorize my channel a little bit. So when I do start putting out longer content, I think I'm starting to get a lot of guys that are coming into the shorts. I got a couple hundred subscribers now just from doing shorts and reposting some of my TikToks. So I think when I do start putting out longer videos and I get some time to do that, edit them, I'm pretty confident that the YouTube algorithm will start to put the content in front of the right people. But yeah, that would be great. And I think, on the roadmap and down the road, TikTok is going to start offering stories, as well as maybe the ability to donate paid live sessions and stuff too. So I'm going to keep that as my primary focus and hope that the long run it pays off, and I can engage with, more guys and women adequately on TikTok. But right now it's a little bit early, but I would love to get onto YouTube and start putting out some longer content.
Yeah, man, definitely. So if people want to follow your content, they want to contact you for coaching, where should they go?
Yeah, you can just search Performance Potential on TikTok. And then there's a link in my bio where you can actually send me a text directly. And I'll try to get back to you as quickly as I can. I use an application called Community. So it'll go to my Community app. It's only you and I speaking, like if you send me a text, right? And then I'll try to get back to that. And then we can book like a calendar session, a Zoom call.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, definitely check out Evan. He's got really good advice. Yeah, man, thank you guys for joining us. We got a special 70,000 live stream tomorrow where I'm literally going to help you guys live on air. So people who are interested, contact me beforehand, respond to the post, or send me an email, playingwithfirechannel@gmail.com, with your specific situation and why I should pick you. And I'll literally, I charge $200 for coaching sessions. I'll do this for free for you live on air. That's the only condition. It has to be live. And give you the same quality of service. So I want to do something to help out the guys. Plus, I thought it would be interesting. This was actually Natty's idea, so credit to her. And yeah, Evan, thanks again, man. Appreciate it.
It was a great show, man. Thanks.